32 minutes, 21 seconds. 5-second tone followed by a 1-second pause.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Okay, gang, let's go.
From the space city called Houston, Texas, welcome to Spaceboy Universe, featuring Spaceboy and the lovely Surlana. So strap in and prepare for launch sequence.
Greetings and welcome and salutations. This is Spaceboy Universe. I'm Spaceboy.
And I'm Surlana.
And it is October 7th, 2017. And tonight's show, we're going to be talking about dark matter, dark energy, and CERN. Ooh, it should be for a good topic. As always, you can follow the host to give you the most, and that's on the Twitterverse. That's at Surlana and at Spaceboy Music. Of course, follow the program. That's at the SBU Universe. That's SB Universe. And of course, follow the network that brings you this fine content, and that's at the SBU Network. And of course, follow our rebroadcasters, and that is Paranormal UK Radio Network. And we're proud to be a part of their group as well. Remember to hashtag your tweets tonight with hashtag SB Universe and hashtag Space Cadets. Space! Say you want to hang out with them Space Cadets. Go to spaceboyuniverse.com, click on the dancing chat bubble, and that will get you in with all the cool kids. In addition to Twitter, you can find the universe on Facebook, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, and many more places. Speaking of YouTube, Surlana, I know you're giggling over there. You can find more than the SBU of archive of shows. There is video content from SB Music, SBU video interviews, 2-Bit Gamers, and so much more. So go there, become a subscriber, and get hooked in with all the cool stuff, with all the cool kids, as I'm saying. Hey, you know what? Can't catch a show live? That's no problem at all. Take SBU on the go with you via Spreaker, SoundCloud, and iTunes, and rebroadcasts like Paranormal UK Radio Network. And that'll get you in through the rest of your life, I promise, because we love to broadcast. And as I say, always, every week, with that said, how are you, Surlana?
You all right there?
Yeah, why wouldn't I be?
You're like, I don't know what you're doing.
Well, I mean, can I borrow a phrase from you? Don't worry about what I'm doing over here.
I wish you would. I mean, I wish you would actually mind your own business.
See what I'm talking about? I mean, we're already getting into it already.
But, yeah, I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm not 100%. I've been down 4 days this week. I had to find me a little one of these quickie clinics to go to, see somebody about my
allergies.
Oh man, it's so bad. I was so miserable, and you were witness to it all, so you can tell I wasn't faking it.
Yes, there was a couple of days I had to fend for myself, and but that's quite all right. I
didn't feel like cooking. I mean,
I know I'm not talking bad about anything. I'm just saying
and also not talking bad about you, but you also are a grown man and you're capable of making food too.
Here goes the jab already. I mean, I was just trying to give you a chance to go to bed early so that you could sleep.
But you act like you're like, well, she's sick and she can't cook. It's like the whole universe is shut down. I don't know you don't know what to do.
The thing is, I get off from work and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to take care of you? I mean, do I need to go somewhere to pick something up, or do I need to do this? Or, I mean, I don't have any idea until like the last second. And so when I get home, it's like, okay, that's what you're going to do?
We didn't intend to talk about this. Let's move on to interesting things.
Yeah, so what interesting things do you want to talk about?
Stop that, Kay. See, it's going to make me cough. Excuse me. That was K28's fault. Well, we had some sad news, double sad news this week,
Yes,
early
most
in the
definitely.
week. The first one being Tom Petty. And I don't recall what happened, and I didn't realize, I don't know if there was anything wrong with him prior, or it was just a strange freak thing, or...
I think I heard that
He's only 66.
He had a stroke. What was bizarre about it was when we were getting the news, it was like, Tom Petty is dead. And then, people were sending out their condolences through social media.
He wasn't really gone.
And then all of a sudden we hear, well, he's not really gone. And then we heard from his daughter that, like, he's not dead. Why are y'all saying all this stuff? And then, of course, it was kind of like retracting a little bit. And then all of a sudden, no, it's official. He's dead. So that was really bizarre.
Yeah. You think you live in a day and age where you can get accurate news fairly quickly, but I guess
Surlana,
not.
come on. We've talked about this, about the news. And
Well, whether or not somebody's passed away,
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It just seems... Anyway,
it's sad. It's sad to hear him go. But before you go...
did you have a favorite...
I was hoping
Yeah.
you to. Yeah, I think there's one we enjoy both together, but one of my favorite is Free Falling.
That's a good one.
Another one, I Won't Back Down.
It's another good one.
Another good one. Running Down a Dream.
A very good 90s one.
An American Girl.
It was all right, yeah.
And of course, You Got Lucky.
That is my favorite. You Got Lucky, babe, because it was the 80s, and you've got a blend of rock guitars with synth.
Mm-hmm.
And, that I like that. You know what I'm talking about.
One video I did like from him was, I just went blank, Don't Come Around
Don't
Here.
come around. Oh, yeah. How
they-
often did
Alice in
MTV
Wonderland.
play that?
Hey, they played the heck out of that one.
That was a groundbreaking thing.
Yeah, he will be missed. I mean, he had such a distinct voice, and then
Nobody can do that.
I enjoyed watching him on King of the Hill. Well, I mean, hearing his voice on King of the Hill, and so he just had just an iconic voice, and he will be sorely missed. And so, we go from a musical artist to a comedian.
Ralphie May, excuse me, he passed away. He was having some trouble with trying to get over pneumonia, and I guess maybe there were some complications with that, and that's just sad to hear. I'm not as familiar with his comedy, but I know he was, excuse me, plenty successful with his career.
Right.
I don't know why. All day long, I'm okay. We start to do a show. I just want to cough. I want to cough the entire time.
Maybe because you got the giggles, and then that just triggered it off. So,
Well, the thing is, early in the morning, it happens, and then late at night. So we're moving on to the late night hours, and it's starting to move through.
well, that's why I had to turn the AC down, because it'll start getting me coughing, and then it sounds like death is coming from me.
Yeah,
coming
your
for me.
your coughs are really disturbing.
It
Does sound like the plague.
I'm disturbed because, I just read in the news, I'm a big fan of NCIS, right? And so Polly Perrette is leaving the show. Of course, she's been on
probably
it.
tired of it.
She's been on it for 15 seasons.
She's probably tired of looking like a 12-year-old. She's probably ready to grow up.
She doesn't look like a 12-year-old. I mean,
Yeah, she does.
her character is, she's kind of gothic in a
Yeah,
way.
she's too old to be gothic.
She's basically the gothic-loving forensic scientist, Abby Shoto. And I've enjoyed, it's been a great show. I just, it's amazing the show, it's been on that long. I mean, the only other show that I can compare it to that is, is like, not NCI, what is that, Law and Order? That's another show that's been like
Never saw
in
it.
different carnations and, different versions, and it's been out there. I've personally not seen that, but I've enjoyed that. I mean, I used to watch the Miami CSI, but that was out of fun because David Caruso, he's just, his acting is like Shatner-esque, And so, but anyway, I'm sure, when you've been on a show for that long, I mean, I guess at some point you want to go on and move and do something else. So, but anyway, I will miss her off of that show, and but we'll see how much longer, because I think only Dan Harmon signed up for 2 more seasons, but that would make, I think this would be his contract will be up next season maybe. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that at you, but since you had a chance to follow your nails over there.
I wasn't listening. That's okay.
Hey, there's a new game out, and I know you've seen this, Surlana. It's called Cuphead.
Yes, actually, I have seen it.
Yes, and most video games, hey, you get these rare games that come and they bring a certain coolness to it. And this particular one is entirely hand drawn and inspired by freaky dark 1930s propaganda cartoons. And one thing when you're watching this is that in those 30s cartoons, it seemed like everybody was kind of like did this kind of bounce, the cartoon
and
dance
were
bounce.
Really surreal and strange animations. Looking back at it now, we'd be like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah,
but what were they thinking back then?
But the fact is that this company, I think originally they only did 1 level, but then they thought, let's put all our chips in and just do this a whole 100%. And the result is amazing when you watch it. If you've ever played Mega Man, it's got elements like that.
Also, it's got, Super Mario.
Yeah, Super Mario. It's got an overworld, side scroller. So if you get a chance, I hear it's going to be coming out for PC. So I don't know if that means Steam might get it. But
I thought that's where it was.
And then PlayStation. I mean,
well, I've been hearing a lot of stuff about people. Well, let's just say it, whining about how difficult it is.
Oh my goodness, this is like, there's some games out there I just don't understand people complaining about games being too difficult. It's like, okay, for example, here I'm going to reach way into the past, like E.T., the extraterrestrial.
He saved it just in time.
Was blamed for being an overly complicated game and challenging.
So it was blamed for being stupid.
It's not a dumb. I just don't understand. I had it as a kid and I enjoyed it. Sure, it was a challenge to get certain things done in it, but overall, I thought it was well designed in the sense of the way it looked compared to some of the other Atari games of its time. But challenging doesn't necessarily mean. Oh God, I just don't understand those people that's like, it's.
Yeah, I heard somebody do a video on that exact same thing you're talking about. Mm-hmm. People whining about how challenging it is, but maybe they don't necessarily have the skills that you need or the patience.
Well, I have a nice game of checkers you can play.
Yeah,
maybe that's not so challenging for you. I mean,
I guess we'll see if you get it and you play it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get it, and we'll report on it. Making my way around the universe, Surlana, I posted something else to my Facebook wall. The future is now is showing this limbless, headless pet pillow that can help for anxiety, and this thing looks like a tribble with a. With a tail on it.
Don't make me cough.
Well, I'm just reporting it as I see it.
I know, because it's exactly what it looks like.
I mean, it looks like a headless cat with no legs, and
it's just wrong.
It does, and
it looks so wrong.
I like how it reports that it's a pillow for people who have allergies, so you
can't have pets.
Can't have a cat or a dog. Then you can get one of these wonderful. They even have the picture of the people in the elderly place.
It looks like somebody just covered a Roomba. With some hair.
Yeah, I'd say be careful where you lay that on your lap. But, it's the strangest looking thing. It's just, like I said, the best way to describe it is it looks like a tribble with a tail on it. And so, but anyway, that's out on the market for you to take a look at.
Oh, God, it's just this round lump with a tail, so there's no head or face or anything.
It's like they pushed the cat's head and feet into its body, and then it just got plump, and then they forgot to push the tail in. But the thing wags its tail. I think it has, on batteries, it has 8 hours that it can give you petting pleasure for your anxiety, I guess. So anyway, do you have something to move on to?
Stop it.
I'm sorry. Just, I call them as I see them.
You know what? I just harvested topics off of your Facebook wall for
What?
this.
You need to stop doing that but go ahead. I'm listening.
And I noticed you posted, you're all stupid excited about this thing you should be worried about. And that is, I can't call it, I think it's, I don't know if it's Voco, the Photoshop of audio.
Yes, I'm excited about that because
It's still on the way, I guess, but you don't see, I don't understand why you can't see the upsetting implications of this.
I can see the upsetting implications because I've seen a few movies where they've used voice, exactly what they're doing, but for nefarious reasons.
Yes, anybody can make you say anything, and they'll say, well, Your Honor, he's confessed to this crime right here on this audio, but I don't know if that'd be admissible. But
Well, I think that there's a way that you can tell by a voice print. It has some kind of printing technology or something to that effect. But here, let me say my piece on it, is that from a broadcast standpoint, which would be great, is that I can do commercials and things like that without you being here, because I'll have audio of you, and then I can construct commercials that have our voices on them, or if, let's say if we do a take where it's a live take, and it doesn't sound quite right, I can manipulate it and change it to what it needs to sound like. I know you're shaking your head over there.
somebody gets a hold of this, gets a hold of our broadcast, saves them, and they can make us say anything, and even though we didn't do it, they can destroy our reputation.
No, I don't believe that, because you know why? I've always said, if you don't hear it from me personally, then it's crap.
Yeah, but just the idea, even though you have to scramble and say, it wasn't us, it was a thing, but just that the fact that you would have to go through all that is damaging.
Well, I mean, I can understand.
It's happened to other people.
I think it's extreme what you're saying, but I just think there's good and there's always good in cons and pros again in technology, and this makes no difference. I mean, think about all the Photoshop things that people have said. Oh well, is that really the us walking on the moon, or is that fake?
Well,
I mean,
we've learned to be
was that a rabbit on Mars, or was that fake? I mean, was that a face on Mars?
Yeah, but see, now we live in this world where you can't believe anything you read, you see, or you hear.
True.
It's all got to be gone through these, well, let's run it through the compressor and see if we can find a voice print.
Well, think about it. Remember that episode, and I know we're going into a topic here, but the episode of Deep Space Nine, when they, in the pale moonlight, that they did the hollow recording of of the Kardashians, and
we always watch that around our anniversary, our wedding anniversary for some reason.
They use that to try to pass it off as reality.
Yeah, same thing. They got just enough recordings of the guys involved, to make
the Romulans bring them into a war,
to make a fake scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, I just added the personalities of how we're used to dealing with them, and it's just dead on. And, of course, the guy still said it was a fake. And
it's a fake.
But it didn't matter because they put a bomb on his vehicle. And
in one hand, you have a dead Kardashian senator, and the other hand, you had, or whatever, you know what I'm saying.
The other, one dead criminal, one dead senator.
No, but the data rod in the other hand. So anyway, that's our Star Trek talk for tonight. But yeah, I know what you're saying. I am planning on getting that software, and
I don't want anything to do with it.
So you won't have anything to do with it. So you've been reading my wall. Is there anything else that you found fascinating?
Yeah, but I suppose it's not going to translate well to talking online. Just, you posted a video that I enjoyed.
Oh, which video was that?
James Veitch.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty good.
That was pretty funny. I liked that.
If you should go out on the internet and find him. Fans of the new DuckTales, those who are Doctor Who fans, rejoice because Catherine Tate joins David Tennant on DuckTales. I have not seen this episode yet. Apparently Amazon and I guess Disney might be having some kind of thing where they're not playing, where the ability you can purchase their episodes. I know that Disney has their high hopes of creating their own digital broadcasting thing like a Netflix. Yeah, I know, another thing to pay money at. Here, take my money. Yes, and I'm going to admit it right now. I finally broke down and got the CBS All Access thing.
Traitor.
I know. I feel really bad about it.
Traitor.
It's kind of like this. Let me, and I don't want to go too far into it because we'll talk about this another time. Just that, Discovery is not a bad show. It's halfway decent. And I'm watching it, and, I'll see where it goes and report on it. I mean, it would be an injustice to our audience, since we talk about Trek and since we love Trek, not to mention it or watch it in some way, fashion, or form. So I think Surlana is out of protest, being the better person out of this group to not watch it, but I'm watching it. And
I have to get out of the room quickly when he watches it.
So yes, I guess in some near future, expect me to talk about Discovery and how.
And we sit here and go, la 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 la.
I mean, it's not The Walking Dead I'm talking about. I mean, it's it's Star Trek. Anyway, so what else you got, Surlana?
Well, I didn't really have anything else, so
I guess we could have talked about Star Trek then.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the worst.
Sorry,
worst part
I
of
thought you were going to talk more. I really did.
It's a joint conversation.
Ooh, there's a Wolfenstein 2 coming. Of course, I never played the first one. That was the remake of the original. But
Rick and Morty ended.
It ended. It did.
Or did it? I mean, here is the ultimate question. I mean, if you're big fans of Rick and Morty, the animated cartoon series that's been appearing on Adult Swim came to its conclusion recently, and with only 10 episodes, which is kind of interesting because earlier this year, Dan Harmon had mentioned that there would be 14 episodes. So
it makes you wonder, where's the missing
4? Well, I've heard that they probably they were in such a time crunch. They did the 10 and just did the best they could with the 10. Now, that leaves it open that you remember how on April 1st, they premiered a new episode of Rick and Morty. Supposedly, this was the season premiere, and it caught fans off guard. So, at the end of this season, spoiler alert, you have the return of Mr. Poopy Butthole. It's a character.
It's not an actual, just a name.
Which that'll segue into another conversation very shortly, around or half hour out, is that he mentioned that, maybe you'll see me back. I'll have a long beard, white beard. And, of course, in the...
Big white Santa Claus beard.
Exactly. And then, of course...
Meaning how long it's going to be before we see Rick and Morty again.
But then again, during the show that was on, you have Rick mention Doctor Who. So there's a lot of speculation.
During the episode, he goes, "You don't know me. You don't know who I am. I could be Doctor Who in this."
But there's a lot of speculation with the fan base that you're going to see possibly a Christmas kind of thing that like Doctor Who does every year. And so we might see Rick and Morty back sooner than we think. So that's up in the air. Now, speaking of rear ends, we had a conversation today. And
let's not go there.
And you mentioned,
let's not go there.
What? I just,
But we have a special guest in the chat.
Oh, we do?
Scroll down, see if you can find her.
Hey, what do you know? Thanks for showing up, Michelle. Man,
It's 2 Michelles.
Yeah, 2 Michelles. Not that, we have Nova Scotia Michelle, which is, one of our longtime listeners. But Michelle Sansil is a good friend of ours. She's... someday we got to get her to call in and talk about her experiences. She's really a fantastic individual. We've interviewed her at I guess it was
Comic Palooza.
Comic Palooza.
It's out there somewhere.
And, she is just a very active person. She paints. She does the roller derby. I don't think she's active now, but she really does do all these really cool stuff. And I went to school with her back in high school. And very nice individual. So those in the chat, make sure to give her your well welcomes of from the Space Cadets. So let her know that you appreciate her showing up and being a part of the crew tonight. So there, I blabbed some more. Hey, I know you have a story that you've read and we've talked about it. Talk about the arrested drunk man.
The arrested drunk man?
Please
Who,
don't.
me?
Yeah. Don't you want to?
Arrested drunk
I
man.
tell you what, I'm going to steal your thunder here. You know, okay, a lot of things are kind of crazy here.
Go ahead, 'cause I don't know what you're talking about.
Arrested drunk man claims he time traveled to warn of aliens.
Yeah.
In Casper, Wyoming, police say a central Wyoming man they arrested for public intoxication claimed he had traveled back in time to warn of an alien invasion. So, let's see. The man told police he was only able to time travel because aliens filled his body with alcohol. He noted that he was supposed to be transported to the year 2018, not this year. So I'm wondering if there's supposed to be an alien invasion, and he was saying it was supposed to be the 2018. Is the alien invasion in 2019?
I don't know.
So I thought that was pretty funny, though. I mean, I'm surprised, one, this made news, but it is Casper, Wyoming. I don't know the population there in Casper, and
It's
I
probably
guess
the most interesting thing that had happened there in a while.
right, exactly. So that came up, and so pretty funny stuff there.
Indeed. Several people tried to link me that, like, oh, this will be one for you. I'm like, thanks. But I don't know. I guess I don't know if he was intoxicated enough to come up with that story, or if that was just supposed to be a cover story, or yeah. I thought that was pretty funny.
That reminds me of an old sci-fi movie where these aliens, saucer, I think it was saucer men or something like that. It'll come to me later. And in this movie, these aliens had these needle-like things coming from their fingers, and when they inject you with them, it was like giving you alcohol.
Oh.
And then I guess there was one guy that got a little bit of it, got injected, and the cops just thought he was just drunk from, drinking, but it was actually because these aliens had attacked him. In fact, it was a pretty. I'm gonna have to look that up, but it was a pretty interesting movie in the 1950s.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, any last thoughts, Surlana, before we head off into break?
Not that would fill up here. I mean, I think one night, if we get really desperate, I'll open up my old dream journal documents and just read you some short dreams.
Well, you do that.
Yeah.
All right. So with that said, Surlana, we're about 2 minutes early for our break, but we have a lot to talk about with the dark matter and dark energy and CERN, and it's going to make for a great topic tonight. I mean, even if you just want to hear us ramble on and pass out in bed while you're listening to us, that's quite all right with us. But
yeah, I'll try to keep my tone very moderated and soothing so you can get to sleep sooner.
Well, with that said, here is our musical interlude, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about science and technology. All right, we're back. You know, Bev, Outlaw Love is actually used as our opening. I've kind of changed it a little bit, but Outlaw Love is the Spaceboy Universe theme
Opening
song.
theme.
Yeah, opening theme.
But
changed a little bit.
I had you put more rock and guitar in it, so it's slightly different.
She took the Christopher
Yeah, that's-
Walken thing.
that's him
Needs
singing.
more cowbell.
That is Spaceboy singing.
That is me singing. You know, I try when I can. You know, and then other times I shouldn't. So tonight we have an interesting topic for you, and as always, Surlana has brought her A game or A minus game, or depending on how you look at it. But she did a wonderful job researching the topic matter, which we're going to be covering dark matter, dark energy, and CERN.
Yeah, considering I was sick as a dog and didn't really ramp things up till Thursday, Friday. But yeah, so okay, it's entirely possible I may not have this 100% correct, or I might be inaccurate, or I'm not understanding something, you know, clearly. But just know, people, dear listeners, I was an English major. That was my focus. I like writing and grammar and reading comprehension. I like this. I failed every math course I've ever took since third grade, every single one, all through college, everything. And science baffles me. So I'm not a scientific Mr. Spock type to easily get deep concepts into physics and this. So I think, if you don't mind me patting myself on the back here, I think I did great trying to understand this topic. So, you know, there, if you let me get that out of the way. So
Now that you've said your piece.
yeah, that's a piece. Now, the first thing I found
Oh,
out.
you forgot Scrabble aficionado too.
Well, I can't help it. I like word games. I'm obsessed with one now on my phone. It's interesting. But anyway, so we're going to talk about dark matter. Mm-hmm. What is it? And then we get into dark energy. What's that? And then why do we need to know any of this? Well, you need to know because you need to keep your eye on what people are wanting to do about this information. So, and hi, Donna. So, see, we're doing a new system now. We're not on our headsets. We're now on boom mics with separate headphones, and I can lean away from the mic now if I have to cough. So I don't know if that makes any difference to you, but I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to put that over there. All right, dark matter. I found different statistics for this. Now, what is dark matter? Well, whatever it is, it's about 80% of the universe, meaning 80% or a little bit more of the universe is made up of it. We can't see it. We can't detect it. It does not emit light. It does not emit energy. Another source I said says it's 85%. And then NASA says on their site, dark matter makes up 27% of all matter and energy in the universe. So I'm like, okay, who do you believe? I don't know. But here's the thing. Dark matter is theoretical. We can't prove it. So how the heck do scientists even think it may exist? They can't prove it. So is this the Santa Claus of science? You know, there's no solid evidence for its existence, but the concept has caught on. Now, so you're saying, okay, well, how do they know, why do they even think this exists? Well, so scientists, astronomers found a galaxy. It's called Dragonfly 44. It's composed mostly of dark matter. Well, how do they even know that? Well, they watch the stars around it. There's the material of the universe is made of baryonic matter, which is protons, neutrons, and electrons. Well, no surprise there. Now, dark matter might be made of that same stuff, or it might be non-baryonic, and I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. They just seem to have faith it's there, but they do have some evidence that something's going on. Again, still, what the heck is dark matter? Well, there's a new hypothesis that they came up as recently as June of this year. Whatever dark matter is, scientists now suspect it has been changing forms, kind of like shape-shifting. So, crap, what chance do you have to find something that you can't see or detect that's changing? It's like the ninja of particles, what do we, for all we know, it's made of macaroni atoms, who knows? But,
Macaroni.
yeah, that's good stuff. Now, I know, you're saying, well, what is dark matter? Stop, teasing us. Well, since we can't prove it, we can only hypothesize about what it is. It's a hypothetical substance. And what it is, it's something we're trying to say dark matter is the reason we account for, quote, the clear imbalance between the amount of matter in the universe and the amount of gravity that holds galaxies together. Now, I will get this more, I'll flesh this out so we can understand it better. Now, so the only indication we have that dark matter might exist is because we see the effects that's going on. So, the way galaxies rotate, the way light bends as it travels through our universe, something is affecting those two phenomena. And the latest hypothesis says dark matter may be in more than one kind of state. I'm like, oh, yay. So the traditional view of dark matter is that it's made up of weakly interacting particles, and these are called axions, which sounds like somebody the Klingons would fight. And these are influenced by a force of gravity, and it's in ways that we can observe on large scales. So on a large scale, we can see what dark matter is doing if it's actually there. Okay, so now I hear you saying, well, dadgummit, what's an axion? That's exactly it's going deeper and deeper and deeper into scientific things, and I'm already starting to fall asleep. So, again, axions are also hypothetical because dark matter is hypothetical, but axions, if they exist, an axion is a particle that may be a component of cold dark matter. Okay, now we're going into dark matter and cold dark matter. So that's the two types. So it's suggested that all galaxies are connected with an infinite web of invisible filaments of dark matter. Now, that's the important thing. There is some kind of discordancy that scientists can observe. They believe dark matter to be the reason for this, but even they can't account because it's hard because they're saying it shifts from forms from, when I'm saying it's two kinds of forms, it's shifting. It shifts from cold matter to maybe a superfluid state. Now, what is a superfluid? It's like one of these websites you go to and every third word is underlined and it's a link to an explanation of what that word means. Like, oh, for heaven's sakes, I'm going to lose my train of thought. Well, superfluid is a form of cold, densely packed matter that has zero friction and viscosity. And it can sometimes be a Bose-Einstein condensate, which is referred to as the fifth state of matter. Now I'm going to stop and pause here, and I'm not sure about that, but I know about those non-Newtonian fluids, like, what is it, custard or tapioca? You get enough of it, you can walk across the top of it if you go fast enough and not sink.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's a state that, we don't normally encounter that much. So all it is dark matter is a concept that scientists are trying to use to explain how the universe holds together, how it's stuck together, how it's glued together. And now Albert Einstein showed us that massive objects, like planets and whatnot, in the universe bend and distort light. And it kind of means it's used as a lensing effect. So you can use big objects as a lens. You can study how the light is distorted by galaxy clusters. They will distort the light.
In fact, that's been used quite often with our own star, to seeing stars behind the sun with that lensing effect with gravity. Very interesting.
So astronomers have been able to create a map of dark matter in the universe by doing that. It's every time I say dark matter, if you take a drink, you'll be drunk and die. So what does all this fancy science talk mean to a poor liberal arts major? Like I said, one source says it's 20% of the universe, another says it's 75%, which I'm thinking the higher percentages is probably more correct, is dark matter. Well, also dark energy. And now, are we sure they exist? Who do you believe on the percentages? Dark matter is part of what keeps things together. The gravity of all visible or normal matter, that normal matter is just everything we can see. Me, you, this planet, other planets, stars, galaxies,
It's almost
nebula,
like
everything you can
some
see
kind
and
of
observe.
physical or
Anything to be observed.
yes.
So gravity of all the visible or normal matter there is not strong enough to form galaxies and complex structures. So something else out there had to be in place to help all these things pull together and form galaxies and, all these structures. If it's all normal matter, stars would be scattered more randomly across the universe and not form clusters of galaxies like we do have. So how are things forming clusters and galaxies if there's not enough power to do it on its own? Well, that must be dark matter, dark energy. So how do we account for that? Well, something that doesn't emit light, they're just saying it's dark. That's why it's dark matter. And we found that there are places that have these high concentrations of dark matter. And how do they know that? Because it's bending light around it. Yet we still do not know what it is about dark matter. We know more about what it's not than what it is. So this is why it's frustrating to understand if you're not technical, if you're not scientific, if you're not mathematical, if you're not a theoretical particle physicist. Because that's what they do. They study this type of thing. It is all theoretical. It's not concrete proven yet. And we'll get into who's working on that and why you should be concerned a little later. I'm trying to pace this out. So, we know dark matter is not antimatter because antimatter reacts with normal matter and produces unique gamma rays. So, they're not the same things, dark matter and antimatter. We can detect antimatter. And that will be important too, coming up. Dark matter is not black holes. We know that there is something between all the matter that we can see in space. Let's say you've got a planet over there, and then another light year away, you can see another cluster over there. And in between these things, it looks like empty space, but it's not empty. It just looks it, is that's what they're trying to say. So whatever's in this empty space, it does interact with gravity. And that's why they're thinking dark matter interacting with gravity is having effect on normal matter. And that's what's in the dark energy, is what's creating things and keeping things moving. So,
before
go ahead.
I was going to say,
anytime you can interject. It's awesome.
Dark matter versus dark energy.
I'm getting into that, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say this before you go down that rabbit hole. Although the dark matter makes up most of the matter of the universe, it only makes up about, say, a quarter of the composition. The universe is dominated by dark energy. After the Big Bang, the universe began expanding outward. Scientists once thought that it would eventually run out of energy, slowing down as gravity pulled the objects inside it together. But, studies of distant novae, or how would you say novae?
Nova? I think that's just...
multiple novas, supernovas, multiple supernovas, revealed that the universe today is actually expanding faster than it's ever, it expanded ever faster today than it did in the past, not slower. So this basically indicates that the expansion is accelerating. This would only be possible if the universe contained enough energy to overcome gravity.
Right.
And that
exactly.
would that's dark energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying. Now, there's also this concept of dark energy, which somehow is more mysterious than dark matter. It also cannot be detected, measured, but like dark matter, we can see dark energy's effects. How? Because of redshift. Okay, here we got to go. Now, what's redshift?
Well, I can explain that real quick.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Red shift and blue shift. Basically, that's how you can tell if something's traveling toward you or away from you. Now, I'm trying to remember. I believe that when it's blue shifting, that means it's going away from you. And when it's red shifting, it's coming towards you. It's kind of like, did I get that backwards?
Stars that are further away appear more red. And the farther away, the redder, because they're moving away.
That's
and
it.
the
I got it back.
Is expanding.
But what it is like the Doppler effect. Is what it is. Is that those light waves? Exactly. As they're moving away, they seem to redshift. Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate it, Dennis and Ty. A little galaxy dyslexia always hits me at the right time. So yeah. So redshifting, you have the further away, whereas if it's blue shifting, the closer. So just think of it as
a way to detect how far.
To put it in
something
layman's
is.
terms, for an easier way to explain it is when you hear a train coming. And, as it approaches, it gets louder and it passes by. That's called a Doppler effect. Very similar to what we're talking about, red shifting and blue shifting, is in the distance. You'll have stars that will redshift as they are further out. And then as things are coming toward you, they will tend to blue shift. Anyway, there you go.
That's right, because... Well, hold on. I'm trying to do this in order. Okay.
Oh, first off,
Go ahead.
it's the subject matter that we're covering tonight is just intense.
Yeah, it's way out of my league.
I'm going to be the first to admit I should have known better on the red shifting and blue shifting thing, and I just got them backwards. But yes, we're back on track.
Sounds like a kid's game. Red shift, blue shift.
Yes.
Or no, it sounds like Dr. Seuss, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, one of those.
Wouldn't it be funny if that was a Dr. Seuss book about dark matter? So yeah, as I can say, stars are further away, appear more red. Further away, the redder, because they're moving away. New space is constantly being created because things are moving, because it's still from the Big Bang, if you believe in that theory. Dark energy is just something that lives in this empty space, like some kind of potential. Empty space has more energy than everything else in the universe. That blows my mind.
What, the emptiness of space?
Having energy. More than every planet, every star, every nebula, every nova, every galaxy combined. The empty space has got more going on in it than the things we can see and feel and measure and interact with. So, dark energy is just a property of empty space. It is not nothing, and it is active. We just can't see or detect it. And the universe may be expanding ever faster. And it's fascinating and frustrating to try to wrap your head around this, because can't prove it, can't see it. They only have observed effects, like an after effect, Okay. You've heard this lady's name before on this show, Vera Rubin. She was investigating the way spiral galaxies rotate. Now, if you can measure the way a spiral rotates and its velocity, and you can measure the mass of the entire galaxy. So she was interested in that. So when she was looking at spiral galaxies rotation, she expected that the farther out they were, these nebulae, the slower it should be moving. So, okay, let me explain that in terms that I think are correct. So, okay, you've got a point of origin. There's nothing, you've got this little point, and boom, the Big Bang. So everything is expanding outward from this one point, and that's the entire freaking universe coming out from the center point, going. And you would think the further away from the center point of the explosion, the slower these things would be moving. Well, she expected that too, but as we've just learned, things are actually booking out there. So Vera found out that this was the opposite. So what she found out was the farther out from the center of the universe, the Big Bang, the faster galaxy clouds are moving. Velocities will either flatten out with distance or keep their speed instead of slowing down or declining like you would expect, and that is weird. So, because there isn't enough mass way out there to account for how fast things are moving away from the point of origin. So, there must be something else out there contributing to gravity to keep moving things along. So, she discovered that these galaxies must be in or surrounded by something unobservable, 5 or 6 times as much invisible material than the visible stuff that's in the galaxies. I'm paraphrasing. And there's more gravity in galaxy clusters than they can produce on their own. And as we get more observations, they're confirming what she found out. So, now, astronomers really tried to explain all this with observable phenomenon. So they're saying, okay, we got galaxies moving out at the edge faster than we expect, or they're keeping their speed, they're not slowing down, as I guess the normal laws of physics would say. So it's like, okay, well, maybe it's rogue planets that are acting on these other objects. And they're like, okay, no, it's not that. Cold gas. Maybe that's doing it. No. Some kind of crazy atoms. No, that's not it. Protons, electrons. Nope, that wasn't it. They shot that down. So this leaves only the crazy stuff that we've not detected to explain for it, such as the axion again. Axions have mass, and if you have a cloud of them, and they have enough gravity, they can affect galaxies, but they don't have enough light in them, or not enough to see to emit light. So even a huge cloud of axions will still be dark. This is why dark matter. Mm-hmm. They don't interact, axions or dark matter doesn't interact with normal matter very well. An axion can pass right through you. So clouds of axions can surround a galaxy, and we'd never see that. We just have to see what kind of effect that would have. So here's what we know about dark matter, dark energy right now. Dark matter, dark energy is all those big empty spaces in the universe. And there's more of that than there is of anything else. Dark matter can affect gravity, or be affected by gravity. And we can study how the mass of objects in space, we can study masses of objects in space by studying their motion. Galaxies further away from the center of the Big Bang are not slowing, like the stuff that's closer to the middle, we thought it would be slowing down, but it's not. Einstein said that big objects can bend light and distort light, and we can think of them as lenses. So if we look at these distortions, we can create a map of dark matter. They had equipment on the International Space Station to try to measure for dark matter B, looking at excess positrons. Positrons are the antimatter counterpart to an electron. I have election because I'm a doofus. And the scientists think that excess numbers of these positrons may be dark matter, but it's not conclusive. And there is a race on to see who can be the first to prove dark matter. And we're trying to find that smoking gun to prove it exists.
You know, I got a quick question for
Sure.
Surlana. I don't know if you're going to go forward and cover this or not, but you know, as you've mentioned, dark matter makes it possible for galaxies to exist and keeps everything together and bends light and has mass to interact with gravity. But you know, I guess my question tends to be that item that has immense gravitational pull in irregular orbits of stars and concentration of stars around them, black holes. What's the connection between the two, if there's not any?
What's the connection between dark matter and
Yeah,
black holes?
because
well, we can observe black holes. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like it's nothing.
Well, we can also extrapolate that the galaxies are being held by, or at least come to some kind of conclusions that dark matter is, controlling galaxies and keeping them together. But
the dark energy. Yeah,
did you not mention? Was it before the cast that you said something to the effect that dark matter is not black holes?
It's not black holes because they can test for black holes.
Right.
There's just more dark energy and dark matter in the universe than there's everything else.
So you're saying that the black holes are just their own unique identity, like stars and other stuff.
I'm just recapping what we've learned so far before the break.
I'm just having a conversation before we head to break. And
why do they think there's more of that than anything? Because, well, since the universe is still expanding, by the way, it's not stopped from the Big Bang.
And accelerating.
Yeah, and accelerating. Scientists think further away from the center of the explosion, it's going to slow down, but they found out it's not happening. And this is not the case. So what's causing stuff to keep going at the same rate or faster rate? And it has to be dark energy.
Okay. How would Newton's laws fall into that? I'm just throwing some stuff at you.
I'm not a scientist, so I don't know.
Well, Newton's law.
Are we talking about the standard model?
A body in motion will tend to stay in motion unless acted upon.
Well, that's being acted upon by the dark energy.
No, well, here's the twist on it. We've just covered in your
Isn't it
opening,
fun to listen to a liberal arts major try to argue science?
You've just mentioned, and I've mentioned that since the explosion of the universe coming into existence, that it's accelerating. It's not slowing down. It's accelerating. Key word is accelerating. So what we're saying is that I guess the universe is being acted upon by this unknown force called dark matter or dark energy to accelerate it. Is that too much of a mind blown, or
yeah,
am I?
I want to tell you what I've learned. I can't postulate on such deep concepts that I've had no formal schooling upon.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here's my
I'm
thing.
sorry.
As you've been listening to before we got a minute before we go to break here, is that
I just forgot something. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just curious to know, since the universe is accelerating and continuing accelerating since the Big Bang. So would the laws of physics, meaning a body in motion stay in motion unless acted upon an outside force, is an outside force continuing to act upon the universe, and that's why it's accelerating?
I feel like who's on first? I would say you're saying that, okay, well, if nothing's bothering it should just keep going.
Hey, look at the time. It's time to take a musical break while we break down
Thank
and cry
God.
behind the microphone. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU Network and PAUK Radio Network. Don't go anywhere. we're back, and I just want to take this opportunity to let you know all the fine music you hear on this program is sponsored by SpaceboyMusic.com. That's right, you can go to SpaceboyMusic.com and get you some wonderful groovy tracks for yourself, and they're all at an affordable price. Right now, I have the latest CD of Unique Technique that's out there, and this one has 17 wonderful tracks that you can bug out with Grandma. Yes, head on over there to SpaceboyMusic.com. Go ahead and get you some, SpaceboyMusic.com.
Because your grandma's so cool.
Yeah, she's hip. She's having it. She's where it's at.
Well, again, if I might take just a couple seconds to pat myself on the back again, I thought I did a great job.
Oh, you did.
Trying to understand
I'm
these
sorry.
concepts.
I didn't mean to throw you a curveball.
No.
You know me very well that
We kept arguing during the break.
I get like the story where Isaac Newton was under the tree and the apple fell upon him. I get moments where I'm like just daydreaming and of things like this.
Well, during the break, you said what you said over again. I said, okay, let's look at it this way. Big bang happens and it spits out a baseball at a certain constant speed. And you're saying Newton's law says if nothing bothers it, it'll just keep going at that same speed. But something is bothering it to push it out faster. And that's supposed to be dark energy.
Well, that's, I think, what we've come to that conclusion. So,
is that too simplistic? Did I get it wrong? You can call in later and fuss at me.
I think it's what it's called is a segue into the rest of the story.
Yeah.
But you're doing a fabulous job.
We'll be using the Skype number tonight. If
Skype. We'll be opening Skype later, but not now.
Not now.
And y'all can chastise us.
Now, I would cordially invite you, listener, please come off the deep end with me now. Let's go down the rabbit hole to Crazy Town. So, I wanted to learn about dark energy, dark matter, but I didn't want to get into what's a gluon and what's a hadron and what's... I didn't see any purpose of that other than to explain they're looking for these specific things for a specific reason. Mm-hmm. And there's the reason they tell us, and then there's the reason other conspiracy theorists think what's really going on. I'm going to present as many of them as I found to you. Make up your own mind. I have made up my mind. And, of course, my mind is like, don't trust anyone. All right, let's talk about CERN. Why you need to be concerned about CERN. That's my personal pun to you.
I think the subject matter is very discerning.
What is CERN? Well, that's an acronym. It's the Center for European Organization for Nuclear Research. That's literally what it is.
One of the largest and most respected ones.
And that's the group that runs the big equipment that is the LHC, the large, and I'm going to say Hadron Collider. I don't know if it's Hadron or Hadron. It's just sort of like where you live,
Hadron?
Yeah, whatever you want to say. Now, the collider is the actual equipment that composes the LHC, and it's partly located underground. Well, no, it's partly located in France and partly in Switzerland, but it's underground, about 300 feet. And it's, the LHC, which is its acronym. It is a particle accelerator, and it's laid out, and I've heard 17, 18, and 20 miles. So let's just round it up to 20, okay? A 20-mile ring, and through it, they fire subatomic particles called hadrons, or hadrons, however you know. Again, more people that would fight Klingons. And they shoot these particles in opposite directions because they're going to speed them up to come back together and meet and collide. So literally they're taking them opposite directions, speeding them up, going through these little booster things with magnets, and smashing them together just to see what happens,
Well, more than just that. I think, when we were talking earlier today that the, simplified thing is that they're smashing these particles together to see, because the universe...
Well, I have more. But,
I hope
fine.
you mind me just chiming in.
No, because you'll pad it out nicely.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And that's the quality that our space cadets approve of when they listen to Spaceboy Universe. Anyway, what I was going to say in a layman's term is that the scientist they're smashing these particles together because they recognize that they're held by some cosmic glue, if you will, and they want to know what is that glue, how is it put together, and the only way to do that is smash the particles. And by smashing the particles, it return, they kind of backwards engineer, if you will, how they're put together. So that is what they're doing, is to find out what is the glue that holds the universe together,
which they think is dark matter.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to collide particles together to recreate the circumstances of the Big Bang so they can see what the quote-unquote glue looked like before it hardened and pulled everything together. Do I have that correct, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
I was just going to say Smash Particle is the crappy cover band for Smash Mouth. Anyway, so what they're doing there is they say they're looking for the Higgs boson particle, or you've heard it as the God particle. And that is supposedly supposed to come out of the Big Bang, which started all life. So they're trying to recreate the circumstances to find the glue on the universe. And also, dark matter is the reason why we can't quite get a grand unification theory. That's my question. Is this the reason why we can't explain everything and unify the explanation of the existence of the universe under one theory?
It's like the Lord of the Rings.
Do I have that correct, or have I got that wrong?
To rule them all. Yes. So
I'm hoping for Dennis or Ty to chime in there and chat. Maybe.
So yeah, basically, the dark matter, dark energy is the wild card, and which gives them fits as far as coming up with a unified theory.
Mm-hmm.
One theory that basically explains
one ring to rule them all.
Yeah, to explain everything.
Okay, here's a quote for you. Space-time isn't four-dimensional, as we usually think, but 10-dimensional. That's 10, 10-dimensional. How do you know that? The 6 extra spatial dimensions are curled up so tightly we cannot perceive them. Again, how do they know this? One way to test this idea is to create high-energy environments that enable particles to jump in and out of these hidden dimensions in a way we can detect. Physicists will look very carefully at the results of the LHC experiments to see if they can find such clues. I don't know. This whole thing just makes me terribly uneasy. So, what do you need to know about the collider itself, the actual equipment? This ring that smashes particles together is composed of 9,600 super magnets to help pull the particles through this ring. That is 100,000 times more powerful than the gravitational pull of the Earth. Oh, I'll repeat the question. Ty, is dark matter the reason why they can't create a grand unification theory? Or do I have that? Or do they have nothing to do with each other? All right. So, as I said, when they run this, it generates extreme temperatures. And since they're trying to recreate the Big Bang, that temperature would be, again, 100 times hotter than the center of our sun. And I believe they've already found the Higgs field. So they're one step closer to, I don't know. Now, CERN is looking for dark matter. And they're doing this by doing experiments, and these experiments may or may not be cause of great concern. So come on down the rabbit hole with me. From CERN's own web pages, here's what they say about dark matter. As we have learned, dark matter doesn't interact well with normal matter, or in a way we can easily detect to prove it exists. It doesn't absorb, emit, or reflect light. We only know that something is affecting gravity on a visible scale. One idea is that dark matter is contained of supersymmetric particles, and experiments at the LHC could give us more clues. So, it's all great. Let's let them do their thing, blah, blah, blah. So even if dark matter was produced at the LHC, they wouldn't be able to detect it directly. but they would wait to see if energy and momentum were carried away from one of their experiments so they could infer its existence from what is missing. Again, if you can't find what's there, look what's not there. Here's another direct quote from their website, from CERN's website. Dark matter candidates arise frequently in theories that suggest physics beyond the standard model, such as supersymmetry and extra dimensions. One theory suggests the existence of a hidden valley, a parallel world made of dark matter having very little in common with matter we know. That is chilling to me. I just don't, if there are other dimensions and we can't access them, maybe there's a good reason for that.
Well, as we get further down this rabbit hole and we talk about
Why can't they just go on Facebook?
Knocking on that door, then you're going to really, we can get into that subject matter at that point.
Okay, maybe Ty will call in and explain it all later.
Well, speaking of Ty, he mentions that the grand unified theories have to do with the merging of theory of gravity with quantum theory. They're incompatible with each other.
I'll take your word for it because I don't know what either one of those mean.
Bless your heart.
And bless your heart. Thanks for trying. No, we do appreciate you, Ty. You know that. Okay, so I don't know. There's something about that statement about a hidden valley, a world made of dark matter. Why do they need to experience it? I don't understand. Okay, so there's always more than one kind of experiment going on at CERN, and not all of them are carried out at the collider. For instance, the alpha magnetic spectrometer looks for dark matter, antimatter, and missing matter from the International Space Station. But, you're not listening to this broadcast for these cool, hard scientific facts. You want to hear the Kardashian gossip of CERN. So here we go. CERN has gained a certain reputation over the years, and whether they earn that or not, I'm not sure. But, it gets as much gossip and stuff as a Kardashian. And there's some clues out there that make me wonder, what is their real motives? Now, keep in mind, I don't know if I mentioned this in other programs, but keep in mind something that the Illuminati does is something called predictive programming. And what this is the powers that be are going to do something not good, bad, or sinister, but they'll do it in a way where they show their hand. They'll just put it right out in front of us before they actually do the thing. It's like they have some weird pact with the universe, the devil, aliens, dark forces, Santa Claus. I don't know. If it was like out in the open the whole time and you didn't notice, then they can get away with it, or it makes it okay. It kind of makes me wonder if this is what CERN is doing. Like, is there more of their experiments than what they're saying? And they'll say, well, we told you we were going to do it. You can't ding us for that. So on the face of it, hey, we want to recreate the beginning of the universe to see how it all works. Well, maybe that's a noble scientific cause. They're trying to figure out how the glue of the universe hangs together, how things in our galaxy aren't moving as they expect. Why not try to find that out? Except if you know how it works when you glue it together, then you'll know how to pull it apart. That's what bothers me. And let me stop to say this. If you're the kind of person that believes in hidden agendas, deep black budgets, Dulce, Roswell, you believe that there's the MK Ultra, the shadow government that I talked about, then I don't know why you'd have a hard concept believing that there might be some hanky-panky going on that's not for our personal benefit or for the greater good of science. That's just my 2 cents, okay? You please make up your own mind. All right, Now, this was kind of a fun topic when I talked about CERN, because I could go to the crazy stuff, and report it back to you. So, an anonymous video I found by, I don't know who the guy was that's doing the talking, but he sounded like he knew what he was talking about on a scientific level. Again, not verified, don't know who the speaker is, don't know his background, on what authority he has to speak on the topic. I can't verify the credibility. I was just like, ooh, this is the kind of stuff I wanted to hear. But it was about dark matter, antimatter, and CERN. So, this video did make me think, so I think that right there was worth my time. It kind of helped me focus my research a little bit. So, now, when the video says he says they are doing this and they're thinking that and they are going to, he doesn't really say who they are. So I'm assuming he's talking about either other scientists who work at CERN or the people who are actually in charge of CERN, or maybe it's just the Illuminati, because I've heard that there's a shadow government or a deep state. There's the same thing going on at CERN, where they have something called the family. And certain people that work there are in the family, and they have special codes they go by when they refer to each other in the family. And there's someone in charge of the family called father, and sometimes it's a female and they still call her father, because I guess that's the code name. All right. So CERN says they're trying to find dark matter in its initial state before it becomes hardened glue. Why is this even necessary? I don't know. Now, we did find antimatter in the 1950s. CERN found antimatter. Nikola Tesla found out some interesting things, too, about protons and electrons, and they took all his research away. Antimatter is the opposite of matter. Antimatter cannot be controlled. And if you're going to try to get some of it or find it, you've got to have a facility to contain it, or some kind of... and yes, I'm aware of how much this sounds like Star Trek, because I believe Star Trek is based mostly in actual science principles.
Star Trek has always been kind of based in science fact.
Replicators and transporter beams notwithstanding, right? So, now this blows my mind if this is true. I mean, bear with me here, because I was sick as a dog and I was rushing to get this in, so I didn't have time to go verify this, so this could be spurious or not. Now, in order to store antimatter, now keep in mind, 1 gram of antimatter is the equivalent of 45 kilotons of TNT, or 4 Hiroshima bombs. Plus, it's unstable. So yeah, we should just be making it and storing it right here on Earth, right? No big whoop, right? I don't know. Just why? I have to ask why. And it takes large places to store even that amount of it. And it takes forever to get it or create it or tap into it, whatever they're doing. They're saying if you have it and your storage device fails, they can cause mega earthquakes. Makes you think, doesn't it? And when they say it has to be contained, they're not saying, go get your Tupperware and, make sure the lid's on there real tight. It has to be isolated from reality. I would love to be isolated from reality. How can we make it happen? And yes, antimatter can be weaponized. Is that why they're trying to get it? Now, this video, the same video I listened to, says that CERN is trying to find the glue that holds the universe together, that holds matter together. They found some of it already with the Higgs field, Higgs boson. They found traces of it. They can observe it. And antimatter is found wherever matter is not. They've already learned to alter reality with the Higgs field. Now, some people think that antimatter is the opposite of this dimension. It's not under our control. Our dimension is the tame one. And the same video went on to say that there's been this group, excuse me, I'm so sorry, still got that residual cough. There's this group that's been studying paranormal activity for a long time, since like maybe the mid to late 1800s. And when they say studying paranormal activity, not like you've seen it depicted on TV, not like you've read about it, not like they portray in movies, but serious, secretive science behind paranormal activity.
Yeah, before you jump there, we had it looks like a statement in our chat room from Donna, asking if you make an anti-gravity containment system, you can control it. In fact, it is possible to contain electrically charged antimatter particles, such as antiprotons, by using electromagnetic. Man, there goes my tongue tie again.
Yeah, this is some tough concepts.
It's a lot of stuff. Electromagnetic traps that contain the particles within a magnetic field, so they don't annihilate the other particles. Mm-hmm. These traps can make it possible to contain up to about 10 to the 12th power of antiparticles at the same charge. Also, they tend to pass it through some dense electron gas, which tends to slow it down even further. So, I mean, it is possible to contain this, and that's how they usually do this.
You always stop talking while I'm still typing in the chat.
Well, I just... Go ahead, get it out of your system.
Okay, I'll do it now.
And I'll just...
all right, sorry.
There we go.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't get to engage in chat because I'm so busy talking.
Yes.
I could have just given you my notes and you could have just...
Anyway, please, continue on. We've got about 4 minutes in
Let's
this
do it. Oh, yeah,
segment.
I've got it.
You
Perfect,
got it?
where we can end it right here.
I love it when you got it going on.
So, again, there's a serious group that's been quietly, seriously studying paranormal activity and the science behind it. And what they've learned is this paranormal stuff is a dimensional slip that interacts with this dimension all the time. Antimatter can be absorbed by any paranormal activity, and it can be neutralized and absorbed by it. And, okay, now, since I told you I may have to mention some biblical religious concepts, just keep your big girl, big boy pants on.
Just roll with it.
Demonic entities apparently are attracted to antimatter. This is a concern because CERN is producing something that can kill us, like a bomb, or trying to contain something, and attracting dark forces. This is the unseen forces behind dark matter, according to this video. Do you want me to try to squeeze in one more paragraph?
Go ahead.
Okay. This video was pretty good until it got to the end, and then you might disagree with this. That other realm where it's all antimatter, they said what people fail to believe, and Christians themselves fail to believe, is how much harm is going to come to us and to them, and that CERN has yielded these results that are the very definition of paranormal activity. Antimatter is being pulled out of nowhere and everywhere, and it's everywhere, Antimatter has a specific type of energy signature we can detect. Now, some of the not-so-good consequences is what effect it has on the human psyche, and Stephen Hawking seems to understand this. Hawking said he didn't even believe in a spiritual realm. He's an atheist, but he's starting to wonder. I don't know if he's changed his mind, but he's beginning to wonder if there might be something else, because he says there's too much precision and balance in the universe.
It sounds very Star Trek-ish. I mean, Star Wars, like,
well,
good
yeah,
and evil. And
that I actually read about some of that too in relation to all this, and I can probably make those parallels when we.
Sure. As we kind of roll into this last minute here, I wouldn't be, as we've talked about parallel universes before, the infinite combinations of things that exist that you can think of with your mind and then some. Why wouldn't there be a universe that's totally opposite of ours and that we could tap in? And I know we're talking about
that's
dimensions.
so crazy because if there's dimensions, then they can't all be empty, can they? Of life.
Well, it would be life on a different way of beyond what our thinking is. You know, it's kind of like I know you're familiar with the book talking about two-dimensional beings.
Flatland?
Yeah, Flatland.
I had to read it for college, and I hated it.
And
because I hated math.
And so, I mean, it would go without saying that why wouldn't there be beings that look upon us like
because we can't observe them, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like a two-dimensional being can't observe us. Only
could be one standing right next to me now, and I don't know.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it is one of those mind-blowing situations when you start going down the rabbit hole. Wouldn't you agree, Alice?
Yes. I had a headache all week about it.
Well, anyway, let's do this. It is the bottom of the hour, and you're listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network and Paranormal UK Radio Network. We'll be right back after this. Yes, you are listening to SBU. I am Spaceboy, and that is Surlana over there, the lovely Surlana, the one and only researcher extraordinaire. And, it's been an interesting topic thus far, Surlana, about dark matter, dark energy, and getting into CERN, and then the cool stuff about the conspiracies and the goings-on, if you will, at the facility. So, I guess we were talking about the universes in general and parallel universes. And, I was mentioning how when you start to wrap your mind around the possibilities, to get to your mind to even get there, I've always used the thing where parallel universes, where can you imagine where you have a universe that's exactly like ours, but maybe an electron and a proton on a particular atom are switched. And that's a parallel universe. That's so close to almost exactly like ours, but one atom just out of place, different. So you could start thinking of the different types of universes based upon that kind of theory, and then you get into universes that have maybe different physics than ours, where the universe is...
it doesn't work in any way we know or could predict or understand even.
Exactly. So, I can imagine, as a scientist, I'm just throwing this out here because I'm just thinking here, can you imagine wanting to tap into a universe that has unlimited amount of potential, that has, no life in it? Let's just say no life, but has an exorbitant amount of energy that if we could tap into, we could fuel our energy. We wouldn't have to worry about energy.
But nobody wants that because it doesn't make anyone money.
Well,
that's all anybody cares about.
Well, there's that, but
it'll never be for noble purposes.
Let's take that off the table for a second, and tapping into an energy. It reminds me of an episode of Stargate Atlantis, where Rodney McKay, the scientist there, was tapping into parallel universes and all that stuff, and the Rodney from a universe that was kind of like he was the cool Rodney. That everybody wanted to hang out with. Just roll with me on this one. So anyway, you have this cool scientist, right? And he's, ultimately wanting to tap into a universe for unlimited amount of energy. So, I can understand if that was an idea that scientists wanted to do, was tap into an unlimited source of energy that goes way beyond anything we can think of. And could you imagine having a tank of energy that's the size of a universe? And then, just different things. You start going down this rabbit hole of different parallel universes. But then what scares me is, you got all these possibilities of that, right? And then you have possibilities of universes that if there were, life forms that wanted to just come out and kill us, period, regardless.
It would probably be super easy for them.
And then,
see, if... let's say they were composed of dark matter or antimatter or something like it. We never see it coming, literally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I guess when beware when you open doors, or even boxes for that matter, Pandora's box.
They're suggesting topics, and they're like gene splicing, gene mutation, climate change. I'm like, I'm just an English major. I don't know anything about that.
Anyway,
I'm right-brained.
We'll look into it. So, but anyway, back on track with CERN. So you were talking.
I got another quote for you.
Okay, shoot.
By Stephen Hawking. The God particle found by CERN could destroy the universe. The Higgs boson could become unstable at very high energy levels and have potential to trigger a catastrophic vacuum decay, which would cause space and time to collapse, and we would not have any warning to the dangers. Now, I also saw that he said, they don't have enough power to make that happen, so it's not a concern, but I know, I keep hearing the pun in my head. I'd be concerned about CERN,
And this is also from the same man that says we shouldn't go out into space because we should...
There's aliens probably hostile.
Ready to eat us or something like that.
Yeah, don't go out into space because aliens are bad. And he's probably not wrong. So he's not the only scientific voice out there that says kind of the same thing. No less a person than astrophysicist cool Neil deGrasse Tyson said the experiments that go on there could literally cause the planet to explode. He said, ask yourself this: how much energy is keeping it together? Then you put more than that amount of energy into an object, the result, it will explode. So if you but I don't know if it's possible or not. We'll see. Anyway.
Okay. Did we just get a flat there?
No, I was just checking that what Dennis said. No, it says the sun is more power than CERN. Yeah. So they're at CERN. They're gonna analyze particles, the same that were in the Big Bang. So they're trying to collide particles to recreate the Big Bang to get dark matter in that state before it becomes glue, which, glue hardens to pull things together. They want to know what it's like when you squeeze it out of the bottle. So, once they know all the properties of antimatter, they will be able to extract as much of it as they want. But right now, the methods they use to get antimatter is very inefficient. To get a pound of antimatter, it would take 10,000 years. I will probably be dead by then, so maybe I won't care. Antimatter. Now, this is something that's probably true, and try to get your head around this. Antimatter is literally tied to every life form on Earth. It's the same energy signature as all life. Now, when a life form is in the presence of antimatter, the life form's energy will change. So apparently we have both matter and antimatter. A person is connected, this is where it's going to get crazy. A person is connected to both realms, matter, antimatter, on an energy level. So our energies, both matter and antimatter. They're saying this is why paranormal activity exists, because they know exactly what it is. It has to do with antimatter. It sounds to me, after I listened to this particular video, it sounds to me like this video is suggesting scientific explanations for good and evil. That we have both inside us. We have matter, antimatter, yin, yang, good, bad. It's in all living things, they said. Now that part doesn't make sense to me. How can a tree be evil? Well, the one in our backyard is, but the rest of them I don't think are evil.
Apparently you didn't see that movie, The Happening, with...
No, because I heard it was stupid.
Well, I was just throwing a possible theory out there for good and evil.
Now, this video also goes on to say how a person feels, how they think, will determine which energy they draw from. This one, the good realm, and that's called faith. Or the bad one, which is, evil. So, I don't know. To me, that kind of makes sense. I'll buy that. So we have it within ourselves to repair ourselves based on belief. They're saying, you can be given a placebo, not knowing it's a placebo, saying this is going to cure your cancer. If you believe it hard enough, sometimes it'll fix you. And if they draw from the other side, and the CERN people know all this. Day of the Triffids, all plants are evil.
Hey, that's another good one.
Awesome, Dennis. So this same video goes on to say, on the spring equinox, the forces on Earth change, I guess naturally on its own. CERN also knows this too. And they actually get better results at the LHC when they time it perfectly with the equinox. So it actually helps them out. So energy signatures of dark matter attracts things from another realm. Same with antimatter. So if dark matter is in this realm, it's still connected to the realm it came from. It increases paranormal activity around where it's contained. Are you trying to say something, or are you just scratching yourself?
I'm sorry. I have a scratch on my arm.
I can't. Sometimes you're trying.
Yeah,
try
I know.
to subtle.
It's like pause. Time out. Yeah. No, please continue. I'm
sorry.
All
right. This is interesting. I thought. Once upon a time, they had some, I don't know if it's antimatter, it says dark matter, but if we can't, it was kept at a university, and the speaker in this video wouldn't say which university, college, but something was happening to the people where they, wherever they were keeping it at this university, everybody around that whole campus, it was affecting them. They're having these violent, vivid dreams, nightmares, and they were becoming violent on campus. So to take it and move it away and put it deep underground because it's chaotic and it's powerful and difficult to contain, like an explosion. So dark matter or antimatter is always connected to its source, which is all around us. And it can come into this realm through people, which was discovered in 1950. It's very minute, but it's measurable. And they know exactly how much of this matter it will take for a person to go berserk, and how much it will take for these entities that are attracted to to antimatter to possess a person. So again, it sounds like there's a scientific explanation for demonic possession. And not every person can be possessed, fortunately. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to be in the right state of mind. You kind of have to be that kind of person to be a portal.
A receptacle, if you will.
So let's stop a minute and think about this.
Okay.
If that's true, right, I have to stop and wonder, can they do something to an individual, to a person, one person, remotely, that will make them unstable, crazy, angry, violent enough to, let's say, shoot up a gathering of people at a music festival, at a primary school of kids, at a college, in an office building, at a really tall office building? And can they do it with these particles that are undetected? And we're left with this tragedy? And everyone thinks, oh, we got to take the guns away. Well, then, you know what? We're going to start killing people with knives. Let's take the knives away. Well, now we're stabbing people in the eye with forks. Well, we got to take the forks away. People will find a way to hurt other people. That's just my little statement for now, but probably shouldn't even have mentioned that. I try so hard to stay away from controversial subjects, but anyway. But I kind of was comforted by not every person can be overtaken by what they have found in these experiments. This video goes on to say they have been harnessing and using all this crazy knowledge, and the scientists, this is interesting, this video said, scientists are more obedient to their disciplines than most Christians are to their beliefs. I thought that was an interesting statement. Now, I was talking to you about this concept during the week because it's above me and I don't understand it, but it's kind of cool, but it's also creepy, disturbing. CERN found out that dark matter reacts with other dark matter that's contained elsewhere. And it was explained in the video like this. If you have a little teaspoon of dark matter in Pennsylvania and you have it contained properly, and then someone else has another teaspoon of it in California, also, contained, and they take it out at California, as soon as they take the teaspoon of dark matter in Pennsylvania out of its containment, it instantly finds the dark matter in California and reacts to it because they're linked through space and time, I guess. So it doesn't matter how far away. If you have a little bit here and a little bit, if you have some in Pennsylvania and some in California, they're going to find each other. That's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it?
I guess to some degree.
So if you lose containment in one place, you can lose containment in another because all dark matter is connected. And so, it said, as I mentioned, people have these signatures of matter and antimatter in them. I guess that could be true. And we draw on them based on our emotions and thoughts. So as CERN goes over there with their collider and collides protons, and dark matter is going to get produced in larger and larger quantities, and the energy signature will increase and be released into this world, in this realm. This will cause dark matter, antimatter signature within people to activate. It will become more difficult for people to stay contained or controlled. We will become more violent, have nightmares, and it's quantifiable. It can be weaponized. They can cause chaos using dark matter anywhere in the world. And what they call it at the LHC, what they're trying to do, is they're trying to break through the wall. The force that holds dark energy back from this realm. Another name they have for it is the veil. And as soon as they find all the pieces, the knowledge to dismantle it, they're going to do it. China is also talking about building their own collider. Bigger. Because the more energy you have, the more potential you've got to create the Big Bang. There are 14 colliders in existence in different countries. And everybody's invested in it, or vested in it. They all want to know the same thing.
In fact, I was mentioning to you that Texas, I guess, was trying to build one here, but they ran into a problem and they couldn't build it because of fire ants.
Do you know why?
Fire ants? I mean,
they can't get rid of fire ants to dig, or what?
Well, how is it constructed?
They go underground.
There you go.
But ants don't go 300 feet underground, do they?
They somehow were able to infect this facility, and so they ended up not spending all the money that they were going to spend completing this thing because of fire ants. So
I think that's hysterical and awesome at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. A counterpoint I was reading, so I did half this research reading, half of it listening. So I read on this other website that there's no need for us to worry. The Large Hadron Collider cannot produce black holes or wormholes, or if they did, they would be so tiny they would disappear in an instant and have no effect.
Now, is that what they're saying?
That's what they're saying. Nothing can happen here that hasn't already happened on the Earth, and we haven't already gone through and survived. Okay, but that's not the point. The point is dark matter, antimatter. Y'all are messing with forces that are volatile, chaotic, can't be controlled. And we don't fully understand.
Well,
is that a good idea?
Let me backtrack here for a second because,
Please,
CERN was able to announce that they were able to create micro singularities, and which is interesting because that kind of brings me back to another subject altogether, John Tater.
I'm going to mention that.
Okay, well then I'm glad.
Yeah. Can you save it so you can add on to what I mentioned?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm. Go ahead, babe.
Okay. All right. Here's going into a new section here called CERN is going to create a portal to an alien world. So another video I was listening to said the collider is very important because it's going to affect us. And what Hawking said about CERN, it could pose grave dangers to our planet, and it would be the ultimate reality check. And we've been warned. So they found a God particle. They found the Higgs field. They could already destroy us if they wanted to. And, as I told you, Tyson said they could blow up the planet by recreating the Big Bang in a man-made structure. Just they don't have the proper containment. So Tyson and Hawking don't necessarily agree with what they're doing at CERN, apparently. But America is in on it. We're observing it. We're kind of for it. But it all originates over there in Europe. There is a collider in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, by the way. And the larger the collider, the more speed you can achieve. So I think that's why China is trying to build. If we're already at 20 miles, what they're trying to do, 40 maybe?
Mm-hmm.
But my gosh, the resources, the money, I can't even imagine. And like I said, they're all looking for the building block of the universe. They want to know about the glue that's holding us together. They want to find the bottle that the glue is squeezed out of, if the simplest terms I could put it in. What was it like? So there are some that have claimed to be people that work there, claim to be whistleblowers, claim to be a friend of a friend who works there, or knew a nurse that worked on the campus, and they say strange things are going on there. There's been paranormal phenomenon. Some of them say you can hear demons screaming. I mean, but there's no proof. Of course, there's no proof. But this professor, Professor Shears, says we're recreating temperatures that were last seen billionths, of a second after the Big Bang. When you get to this hot temperature, matter disassociates into atoms, atoms into nuclei and electrons. So you're pulling things apart to their first state, the first state it was ever in, if that's how I understand that. Going back in time, basically. It's like you're an elderly man and you're going to go back to a sperm, and then now you're just going to be a speck of cosmic dust. You know, everything unravels to its constituents, meaning what it's made of. And those constituents are what we study in particle physics. I'm starting to not like particle physics. Sergio Bertolucci, just fabulous name, former director of the research and scientific computing section of CERN's facility, told a tabloid, don't know what he's doing talking to tabloids, but he told a tabloid that the collider could open otherworldly doors to another dimension, or it could send or we could send something into it, or something could come out. Has anybody seen the first Hellboy movie? Do you remember the opening scenes where was it Rasputin was creating that portal? And it was all kind of like very Lovecraftian and Cthulhu-esque. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what they're talking about. They're
right.
Piercing the veil. I don't know, is he talking to a tabloid because the tabloids was the only one who would talk to him about crazy dimensions? But anyway, Bertolucci goes on to say that if they did open a tiny door, it'd be a tiny door, and they could shut it again real fast, and everything would go back to normal. How do they know that?
Like, sure, we got this under control.
How do they know
sure.
that? There would be no risk to the stability of our world. But good Lord, why? Why risk it in the first place? Mm-hmm. So, I don't get it. Two more things to make here before we go to break. Mm-hmm. There's also talk about the curious location, the physical location of the CERN Large Hadron Collider, which is, it's underground. Part of it goes underneath Switzerland. Part of it goes underneath France. Mm-hmm. Well, go back in time and find out what was there in Roman times. Well, in Roman times, they had a temple to Apollo. And the people of that time believed that location to be a gateway to the underworld. So is it no mistake that this was placed in a place where ancient peoples thought it was a gateway? Or are they just like, hey, people used to think this was a gateway, let's make a gateway. They also admit, the CERN scientists admit, they have no idea what the consequences will be if they do capture dark matter. Oh, fun. Of course, this could all just be paranoia. It could be preposterous. They say the fear of CERN is a tradition. You know, we fear what we don't understand. And of course, I do not understand any of this. Is it just me being a barbaric cave woman because I don't understand the boogeyman? Mainly people first have a problem with their corporate logo or the statue that's outside, the god Shiva, which is god of destruction. Just seems like, yeah, it's totally cool to represent your ideology of destruction of worlds. No way anyone can misconstrue that or your tensions or your meanings. But we could get more into that when we come back from the break.
Yeah, I was going to say before we play ourselves out to the break Surlana, is that, these scientists seemed like, you know, I am smart enough and I can do it, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Darn the consequences.
It's kind of like, you know, I can pee on an electric fence, but do I want to do it? We'll be right back after this. Well, thank you, Michelle. We appreciate that offer. Hey, you're listening to the Spaceboy Universe on the SBU Network and also on PAUK Radio Network. That was a song called No Fate. And hopefully we have no fate by these scientists that want to pierce the veil, if you will. Now, I know we're going to continue on here,
Sure.
but the phone calls can come in, and that's at the old 713-701-5214, 713-701-5214. If you want to call the universe tonight, that is the number to do it.
You said 701?
701-5214. Did you open
Sometimes I remember it, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
No, it's been open
okay.
for an hour.
Okay, so on that magical note, go ahead and continue.
Okay, more theories, more conspiracy cuckoos. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about the things that we can see. Let's talk about the CERN logo itself. Well, if you go look up the CERN's official logo, I think it has to do with the shape of the actual colliders.
Right.
But all you gotta do is turn it upside down, and you can see 666. Okay, yeah, then maybe that's stretching it. Yeah, whatever.
Well,
But since they're trying to,
we've had more conversations like this, like the Taco Bell stuff. And,
oh, the Taco Bell is just fun. I fully believe Taco Bell has an evil hidden agenda. Nobody could be that delicious without dark intentions. So, since they're trying to pierce a veil to another dimension, for whatever reasons they say, you can think of the LHC as a Stargate. I don't see why you couldn't.
Hurry, Surlana, the 7th chevron is closing.
That's an Archer reference. You're forgiven if you're late because you have a headache. Okay. Like I said, they're trying to get to that other side where this antimatter is.
Exactly.
Again, why?
You know, I have to interject here, Surlana, because it's kind of like in a lot of our conversations that we have is the human mentality in general is, what is their motivation? What are they motivated? What's pushing them to do this?
Yes. What possible? I mean, sure, you've got the sign like, hey, here's how the universe works. Well, so what? So now you know. What now?
Yeah,
what are you gonna do with that knowledge?
What do they hope to gain? I mean,
there's got to be something else that they're not saying. That's just what I think. Make your own conclusions. Do your own research. I double dog dare you.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we mentioned that, they've got the Hindu god Shiva, the destroyer, right outside the facility. Why have a god that destroys? Is that something to celebrate? But then they say, look, that was just a gift from India.
But I want to stop you there because
I'm probably going to say the same thing you're saying.
Shiva is basically true, the god of destruction, but she goes hand in hand, and I can't think of the other god that she works with, but
she destroys so the other one can come in and
exactly and
rebuild.
Not
buying it. So why not have the one that rebuilds too out there?
True.
Why focus on the destruction
part? Well, I hate to play the devil's advocate.
Well, no,
it's kind of like
it makes a better show if you do it.
I mean, because basically, I'm just trying to flush this out. Is that basically you have the god of destruction? What are they doing? They're breaking apart particles. They're destroying particles
to find something.
To find something, and so I can understand why Shiva is there. But yeah, it'd be interesting to note why isn't
Oh, and you were saying, you know, the Force, the concept of the Force from Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
It's in us and it surrounds us.
Yes.
Well, you could say that's dark matter or antimatter too.
True.
Maybe that's what they're talking about. And if you tap into the dark stuff, the antimatter, then you're going to be that horrible Darth Vader-y Kylo Ren type.
Mm-hmm.
And if you tap into the light, this realm, the good, the matter, things you can see, the positive, then you can do good and you will be good. So again, this feels like it's the scientific explanation for good and evil, almost for religion. But they can't prove it yet, dark matter.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you got the concept of faith. They seem to have this faith that it's there because they see an effect. Kind of like you could pray for someone to get better and then they get better. I can't prove the prayer worked, but there's an effect, but I can't prove they're correlated. See, it's just weird how I feel like I almost had this epiphany, like, I understand everything. Like, no, you don't. Take your augmentin and go back to bed.
It's like, what if dog meant cat in reverse?
Yeah, whatever. So, I even read during this research that extreme weather events, earthquakes, and the appearance of ghostly floating cities are supposedly the work of experiments at the Large Hadron Collider.
That's a mouthful.
I'll just say LHC. CERN says the Shiva statue is just a gift from India. And although it's a god of destruction, it also represents life. But you don't know that until you go look it up. So for all intents and purposes, you've just got the god of destruction hanging out there. I'll have to look at that later, dear.
Yeah, just Dennis posted on the Universe Twitter wall the 666 of the Collider.
Thank you, Dennis. We appreciate
As
We
always.
appreciate it when space cadets help find the show and tell for our show. Okay, so it was also reported that in 1999, CERN proposed and carried out a quantum vortex experiment searching for solar axions. Here, now remember, what were axions? They're supposed to be the thing that makes up dark matter. Again, they're like dark matter. They're hypothetical particles. They're components of dark matter. So in order to find them, they proposed the use of something, to use this thing called, a magnet called Satan. Isn't that fun? It's just an acronym for Solar Axion Telescopic Antenna. How hard did they have to manipulate that to make it say Satan? One of the attempts at creating a portal anchor happened in an area where there's rumored to be an ancient Stargate in the real ancient Babylon, Iraq. Even a top physicist at CERN admitted something may come through. Dimensional doors, LHC, out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it, as Bertolucci said. Why? Again, just leave that crap alone and go outside and play. What is your end game,
We've been knocking on this door since the 50s, and with the smaller ones and building up to what we have now. So I would imagine that whatever's on the other side is like ready to just come on in once the door is open. And, it ain't going to be anything stopping. I don't really buy into like, oh yeah, we'll be able to shut it down or whatever. So.
Well, this guy, Clyde Lewis, says CERN's experiments have created an increase in earthquake activity and possibly the increase of recent UFO activity. But how does that account for earthquakes and UFO sightings before LHC ever existed? So I'm not sure what that...
Well, there has been, lately there's been an increase of earthquakes and hurricanes and things like that. We've seen some videos of weather phenomenon above CERN that
I'm about to get to that.
That is quite interesting. That and so you got to wonder about that.
Doomsday theorists say CERN's LHC is going to be the thing to blame for the end of the world, but they say CERN says, well, that's just due to your lack of information because you're uneducated about what we do, and you can't understand, particle physics. We fear what we don't understand. Like to punch a scientist in the face.
Well, that's a stupid question.
Again, another Star Trek reference, sorry. Well, I feel like I have a little bit better understanding of what they're trying to achieve, or what they say they're trying to achieve. And on the face of it, I still don't understand why they're doing it. Sure, science, and we'll learn this, that, and the other. Okay, you learn how we are formed. What now? What's the end game here? So we should just let them all be. Go rip open the fabric of the universe, see how it's sewn together, because there's no possible consequences that could hurt us. Stop worrying. Stop questioning things. Stop making up crazy rumors. Just calm down, go outside and play. Supposedly, during some of these experiments they have on, and they're not just doing stuff for the Big Bang. They do other experiments there because, you got a big toy. Let's use it for as much as we can. So they'll do some things, and people will say they'll be, going around doing their thing over there in Geneva, and they'll see these weird cloud formations right over where the LHC is. Now, if you're to believe these people and conspiracy theorists, they'll say that they noticed it the same day CERN began this experiment called AWAKE. The AWAKE experiment is allowing the CERN scientists to smash particles together in a completely new way. So the conspiracy theories out there seem to believe that these strange clouds above CERN, which you can see in photos and videos, are a direct result of AWAKE. And many of them think that these could be precursors to portal openings between this dimension and some other one, unknown and previously unexplored, or a parallel universe. And I showed you a video earlier where it was like a nice big sunny blue day, and it was like poofy clouds, and it just looked pretty. And all of a sudden, this dot appeared. All of a sudden, there was this weird swirling formation. It looked like it was made of clouds or vapor. It was white, just like the clouds, and it swirled around, and it looked like it was pulling the surrounding clouds toward it, and then all of a sudden, it disappears. But not before you see these two white dots float up into it. Yeah, that could be completely faked. Somebody could have made that in some software, but it was like, interesting. So, January 2016, there's some footage that allegedly was taken by two U.S. tourists that appeared online. It showed this mysterious swirling vortex of clouds with a strange orb inside it, and I think this is the same one I just talked to you about. It was just really strange. Now, here's what you'll chime in here. I found just totally strange off the cuff. I found that no less a figure than John Titor made predictions saying that time travel will begin at CERN right after they announce they can create microsingularities the year 2034. And they created a time portal one day. They created some kind of time anomaly, and a commercial plane disappeared. They weren't trying to make that happen. It's just like, oops. So they were running this experiment at LHC, and it was so strong, it sent a time warp across the world toward Bolivia. And they're testing distorted the magnetic field, and a wave ran through a part of the world. The wave was in the path of an Airbus plane. It was about to get ready for their approach to land in Bolivia when suddenly they found themselves in the skies of Spain. The crew and the passengers were all fine, and they ended up having to fly back from there to Bolivia. So the next day, CERN lost all their power, citing like, oh, well, you know what happened? Oh, whoever, Gary or whoever, dropped a piece of baguette into some outdoor machinery and shut it down. Swear to God, that's what they said. But this wave was still moving through South America, the Andes, and it plunged, supposedly this wave plunged millions into darkness, and they were out without power. But they said, no, the reason those people were without power is because they had some local storms, and it damaged their hydroelectric dams, which was running their power. I don't know. It read like a creepypasta, and I don't care. That's just good fun. So did you have something about Titor you wanted to say?
No, well, basically,
because I know he said about the singularities. Yes. That's how his time travel machine works.
What is described as that CERN would he predicted that CERN would announce that the ability that they were able to create microsingularities. And as you said, is that
not a fancy word for black hole?
Yeah, it's another word to saying black hole.
Yeah, I know things.
2013, with the building of the first time machine, the unit was called the GE-C204 Gravity Distortion Unit. It was about 5 foot long, 2 feet by 2 feet square, this is a very fascinating story. I don't recall, did we ever have I think we talked to
in passing with time travel. We talked about the concept of time travel in the first season.
So the way he described is these microsingularities would I guess circle each other, and that was what made time travel possible. When all this time I thought it was the flux capacitor, to be honest with you, but that's another story too altogether. And so he predicted that this would happen, and sure enough, CERN announced that these microsingularities were created.
There is a big fat mosquito that will get me because they like me if I don't try to whap it right now. Okay. There's his guts across the monitor. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. It had to be done.
Would you like to explain to Miss Michelle what creepypasta is?
I only can tell you from what I know. I mean, you could just Google it. What is creepypasta? Probably get a better explanation. As far as I understand, you just type in creepypasta on YouTube, and there's just like countless channels on YouTube where it's just a person that read stories that people email them. And they're all fictional stories, but some of them are pretty good. They're usually spooky, scary,
But some
paranormal.
you kind of wonder, well, maybe this is just
Aliens.
another way of disinformation and, or putting information
There's
out there.
one I'd like to talk about, but now's not the time.
No, I'm curious.
Because
to
it
know.
has to do with Area 51, but we're not going to talk about it.
Oh, okay. Oh, see the whole.
We can't talk about it here.
I like the Force.
I'm saving it for something else.
I felt the audience just go, oh.
Well, I can't talk about it
That's
here.
fine.
Anyway.
So that's John Teeter, everyone.
But
Time traveler extraordinaire.
He had, if this is the original Teeter we're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about Teeter number 1. Yeah,
Didn't he
don't
say
get us started
he
on
had
that.
a time machine that he could fit it in the back of the bed of a pickup truck, and it ran on 2 microsingularities?
Yeah, that's what I was describing. That it was about 5 feet long, 2 feet by 2 feet, like square. So you have this device that that sat in the back of the back seat, and and the way he described when it turned on was like when you're in an elevator.
It's so close to being the DeLorean thing, isn't it?
It's
clunkier, but it's it's so cool. Yeah, we'll talk about creepypastas. Just stay tuned, stay connected to me somehow, and I'll get you some
creepypasta.
Yeah,
deliciousness
when we talk about that. So people are saying, okay, there's these weird clouds. You're running this experiment called Awake. There's all these crazy clouds. There was a crazy storm that appeared above the LH area. And it's not affecting the surrounding weather that's already happening. It's just creating stuff. But they have run experiments to create artificial clouds. Again, why? Well, they say to see the effects of global warming, and I'm not going to even talk about that topic. I also read that CERN's activities are being tied to things like the blood moons, the Pope being the Antichrist, and seeing demons in the faces of the beams in the sky above CERN. Again, just relating to you, part of my research. And I'm getting really close to the end. Other scientists say that these scientists at CERN are not just researchers, but members of a doomsday cult working for the Anunnaki. And for those who are listening don't know, Anunnaki is supposed to be some kind of alien race out there. Again, that's been well covered by other more well-known people.
In fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because I remember seeing a few clips and pictures of all things, like a cult-like group, like having their little meeting in front of the Shiva, is it again?
Yeah, the destruction goddess.
They have
Hindu goddess.
The Hindu goddess.
Hindu god.
In front, they have the statue on the grounds, and so they were having some kind of cult thing going on, and supposedly CERN came back and said, well, we weren't aware of this, and blah, blah, blah. Now, it's interesting to point out here, Surlana, is that CERN is pretty huge. And a lot of their story, they compartmentalize a lot of things. Where have we heard this before?
Yes, not everybody needs to know everything that's going on there.
Exactly. And so we hear this so many times when it comes to black projects that they compartmentalize it so that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. So very much in CERN's case, it's the same thing. So you have these different things going on, and it's funny because they have like a Google Hangouts that they all kind of communicate with.
We watch the same video separately.
Yeah. So, but that's what makes our research so wonderful, is that they communicate with these Google Hangouts so that they can kind of communicate with other people and answer
be
questions.
Spied upon too.
Yeah, and be spied upon. But it just goes to show you, even within the organization, even though it's kind of this tight-knit family, they still compartmentalize everything so that, once again, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, so that there's some kind of, secretive, clandestine thing going on.
So we watched that same video, apparently. So I watched this other video, and it was called I Am a Physicist at CERN. And I had to go back and listen to the beginning like 3 times to try to hear this guy's name. and Dr. Edward Mantell. Edward Mantell is supposed to be the guy. He says CERN tells you they created it for understanding the birth of the universe to recreate the Big Bang, but he says there's so much more going on, so much more than they told the public, so much more than they'll ever tell the public. So this Dr. Mantell says we have connected to other dimensions at CERN, at the LHC. Now,
before you go on, I keep hearing Beastie Boys every time you say that.
What?
Another dimension.
Another dimension, new galaxy, intergalactic, planetary. So, it's the only time I'll ever rap for you.
Thank you.
This guy, Dr. Mantell, says he specializes in quark interactions, how these particles, play with each other. Mm-hmm. So he says studying the birth of the universe is not really what's going on and not what it's really used for. It was strictly to open a doorway. And the idea to do this goes all the way back to the 1960s. All the governments, including the U.S. and especially France, wanted to understand what UFOs really are, and they thought these experiments could help get them a better understanding. They believe the universe is like a closed book. You've got individual pages that are laying on top of each other when it's closed. So these individual pages are individual dimensions. They touch, but they do not interact. They want to find out how to interact with other pages / dimensions by tearing a page, punching through to another dimension. Why? I don't know. If it's there and we can't access it, maybe there's a darn good reason. And if we could harness enough energy force into doing this to even a small pinprick of an area, we could tear our page and glimpse into another page / dimension. And this was all thought of in the 1980s. And everybody went, yeah, that's cool. Let's do it. There was concerns about safety and consequences, but ultimately the pursuit of science won out over concerns. Europe, China, and the U.S. were all on board for the CERN facility. They want to open a portal, but also be able to shut it. They're like, oh, Cthulhu's coming, shut the door. They also wanted to harness these experiments for weapons development, but of course was never told. The public was never told. And most scientists working at CERN, like you just said, were kept in the dark about the real purpose by compartmentalizing. And I told you the nefarious experiments would be on lockdown. They would happen after, normal hours, and it would only be taking place within the family, which is a code name for a very select few people that actually knew what was going on, knew what CERN's real purpose was, and carried out the important experiments. So supposedly they opened up something one day when they charged it, they cranked it up to 11 apparently, whatever their version of 11 is. And they opened up something happened. They never saw anything. They heard a loud screaming like someone's being tortured. It was over real fast. And then the father, which was actually female in charge, father went missing. The lights went out. They got him back on. And where she was sitting at the controls was just the lump of her jewelry and her clothes. Now that sounds like a creepypasta. If you want to know what a creepypasta is, a crazy improbable fiction story. I
was going to bring up something before we go to break here. Is that
break? I'm almost done.
I'm reminded of Star Trek again, and how the magic versus the science. Through history, when new discoveries have been blazed forward, many people have been concerned of the ultimate destruction that new
I think
technologies.
It's warranted here.
And I think that are we dealing with another situation like that? Well, for example, nuclear power. We've seen the damage it can do, but for the most part, we haven't ended up destroying ourselves over it. Now, in this situation, I think that maybe with CERN. True, we're outsiders, so we're very limited of what's going on the inside, and even those on the inside, it's compartmentalized. So it's
a nifty way to keep secrets.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a double-edged sword there as far as magic versus science. So with that said, let's take this break. Surlana, we'll come back and
I got just a teensy bit more.
We'll wrap all that up, and we'll have some more casual conversations. Maybe somebody might call in. And that number is 713-701-5214. If you dare to call us, do so in the last half hour. And you're listening to Spaceboy and Surlana on the SBU network and on the Paranormal UK radio network. I love that song. That's
awesome.
A song that we wrote for Solaris, and one of actually two songs. And I wrote that song initially, and then I did. It was in honor, it was for her book that she just released, and then I ended up releasing another song to her that I think encapsulates her book. I believe it's 1,000,000 Miles to Midnight.
Oops, that's totally wrong.
Yeah. So anyway, so Surlana. Before we went to break, you had a few little
wrap-ups. And
wrap-ups.
That number for tonight is 713-701-5214, not 8214. I'm just an idiot and my throat is starting to hurt.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and knock this out.
Okay. Hey, you know Stuart Swerdlow?
Mm-hmm.
Heard of him? Heard of him?
Oh, yeah.
Stuart Swerdlow believes that CERN's really opening portals to let something through. Swerdlow says the Illuminati have already gained control of it by tapping into frequencies that they've discovered of alternate realities, and they're merging them into this reality, our reality. He said the beings, and I'm not familiar enough with his body of work to know who he's talking about here. The beings in the Kuiper Belt have sabotaged the LHC, and that's why it keeps shutting down, and they have to restart. They have to shut down. So they don't want whatever they're trying to do, they don't want it to happen, so they're on our side, whoever these beings are. I'm not up on his research.
Right.
So on a quick side note, which I might do some research on this because this sounds interesting, Swerdlow also says the Vatican has an office at CERN. Why? There are tunnels at CERN that no one's allowed to go into. Yet he knew a woman who was a nurse on the campus there, and he says he got insider info from this nurse about these mysterious injuries to the staff there that no one's ever seen before. Oh, and he also says the Vatican has a telescope called Lucifer in Arizona, and he knew a secretary that was Pope Ratzinger's secretary. She said Pope Ratzinger was the most evil human being she'd ever known. He was terrible. He said Catholicism is just for public consumption, and those in the Vatican do not believe in it or practice it. They're actually getting ready for a new world religion of ritual sacrifice, abuse, and torture. Just a little side note. Anyway, but how can we prove all these wild conspiracy theories, biblical prophecies? Should we just take CERN's word for it? It's all just for scientific curiosity and exploration for the best of, they say mankind, but I'm going to say the PC humankind to include everybody. Can we trust them? Is it not worth worrying about? They talk about all our benefits, understanding how our universe works. I can get up every day, go to work, pay my stupid bills, come home without knowing how the universe works. When they relieve me of all these burdens and I get out of debt, maybe I'll have time to contemplate the universe. But right now, I just want to go play. So, can humanity not survive with a little bit of mystery? Why do you have to know everything? Since 2013, the LHC has been turning it up to 11, as I said. You know, that's a Spinal Tap reference, and they're not literally turning it to 11. They've been probing deeper for the moment just before the Big Bang, as I've been hammering home to you. So you could say only paranoid people and religious people are fear-mongering because they don't understand and they're worried. But are you going to discount an accredited scientist like Stephen Hawking who has concerns? He did say CERN wasn't powerful enough to cause a catastrophic event, though, but that's not going to stop them from trying to get there. What's stopping them? What's stopping any country from creating one strong enough? We're talking about you, China. One physicist working at CERN said they hope to access parallel universes. They want to do it. They want to make the Stargate. Again, why? And I wondered, have I just simply allowed conspiracies and rumors to color my view of what we're doing with colliders? I just have an uneasy, unsettled feeling about it. And that's my last point on this, and I'll make one more. I'll tell you what I asked my husband, Spaceboy, here earlier in the day. I said, sometimes I wonder if all, maybe North Korea aside, sometimes I wonder if, China, the Soviet Union, or is it Russia we're calling it?
Russia.
And all these other countries, all the ones that hate us, and all this friction, all this tension, we're better, and we want you to take this, all this fighting, all the wars we have, I kind of wonder if it's an elaborate staged show. And we actually, behind the scenes, we get along fine because they have these hidden goals that they're trying to do something for a small amount of people to profit. And they keep all this stuff going on, so we'll have something to look at. We got to hate those people over there, and, we'll rally behind our flag and die for our countries. Meanwhile, they're trying to open a portal to Cthulhu, and, so I just kind of wonder if everything's a lie. And on that note, 713-701-5214, you got about, 20 minutes to offer your opinion or clarify something for me or tell me where I went wrong.
Well, we all know the cake is a lie.
But there is no spoon.
So, interesting topic tonight, Surlana, and you've done such a wonderful job.
It kicked my butt.
Always do. And I think the audience thought that you did a phenomenal job
My throat
of
hurts.
researching. And so kudos to you. You did great.
Oh, I think I accidentally closed the chat. No, wait. Wait, there it is. Okay, now I can put it in front of me. Anyway, that's the liberal arts major's take on the universe.
See, there.
You
all in
haven't
chat.
heard the whole show yet, though, sis. Wait till you go back and listen to it. Then you can tell. Oh, we got a call. We got a call.
Okay, I bet it's
I'm
Bev.
so excited. Well, let's see.
See?
It's Bev.
How are you tonight, Bev?
Oh, I'm doing just fine.
So, do you feel smarter tonight?
Yeah. You did an awesome job, Surlana.
I did it while I was coughing, sneezing, dripping, achy,
And that's
Killing
tired.
mosquitoes.
and that's only the few of the doors from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Well, if you don't kill the mosquito, God only knows what they've got now after the hurricane.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I feel like you do, Surlana. Why mess with all this stuff? Why not just leave it be?
Well, like we said, there's some reason they're not telling us. They want to gain something they don't want us to know about or have access to. But he was like, well, what if we could pierce the veil and get all this energy? Well, they'll take it and keep it for themselves because there's no profit in it.
Yeg was saying how antimatter costs like 75, I think he said $billion. I said, it's a good thing that a person can't afford that, because can you imagine what one person could do with antimatter?
Yeah, destroy the Earth.
Uh-huh. Well, and like I said in the Twitter, or the, you know what I mean? Yeah, the end of the world is going to come, but it's not going to be biblical. It's going to be mankind destroy it.
Well, that's definitely a possibility. We're very capable of annihilating ourselves. I mean, if you look at the past 100 years of how technology has come down the pipe, in the early 1900s, we were just learning to fly, and then all of a sudden we go through several wars, and then we go to the moon, and then, just look at technology now today, where we're at. It's truly amazing. So, it's only a matter of time if this kind of technology, let's just say the technology falls into the wrong hands. That's who you have to worry about.
It's already in the wrong hands.
Well, that's true.
That's
but
what I was going to say. Yeah, it's scary to think about it.
But, I want to back up here for a second because, I guess tonight Surlana and maybe a little bit of myself have painted scientists in an unfavorable light.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure there's good ones, yeah.
And I was going to point out that it's in our nature to want to know about the world we live in and what surrounds us. And so when I was, living with my sister and raising her, my niece with my sister, I always told my niece that, whatever you do, always ask the question why. Don't be afraid to ask the question. If you don't understand, let's say, if you don't understand Uncle Spaceboy, ask me. Tell me you didn't understand, and I'll try to explain it to you. Or if there's something you don't know, always ask it. Don't be afraid to. And I think that's inherited in every human, that they want to ask the question why and understand. So I think with a lot of scientists, you have that need to want to expand their knowledge of the universe. And some of that's good with a lot of scientists, and then there's some scientists that I think Robert Oppenheimer regretted when he exploded the bomb out in the desert. I mean, he was first wanting to know the knowledge, but after he saw that energy released, I think there was a part of him that regrets what he had created.
Yep.
And I think that same parallel could be applied here with CERN. You open the door. They want to know, hey, can we open the door? Yay, we open the door, and then the door is open.
You know what I think it is? If it's not about money, whatever they're trying to get from the other side, or whatever, maybe they think they can tap into some power or an entity that will give them eternal life or something, and then it'll be only them that has it. So, eternal life and wealth.
And I think there's some scientists that just want the power. They're on a power trip. And if they, if they think that, I can contain this, I have the power. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them, there are some of them, that my feeling is they want to play God.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. They want his powers.
I was listening to.
Point,
I was listening to. There was a while back that how we've been dealing with, I guess, climate change, and scientists wanted to move the Earth, literally move the Earth closer to the sun. Could you imagine?
I'm sorry that what you're saying is literally Patrick Star from SpongeBob. We should take Bikini Bottom and push it somewhere else.
But scientists really thought, hey, let's push, change the orbit of the Earth closer to the sun to, because they were worried at the time global cooling, and it doesn't matter. Just the idea that scientists wanted to try
Strap
to
a rocket to the planet.
attempt to move the Earth closer to the sun because they were going through some kind of ice age type thing. So could you imagine if they wanted to do something like that and it broke down and and it basically just failed and we ended up cruising in and falling into the sun?
Or get a little too close and get into the sun's gravity.
Exactly.
Connor.
Mm-hmm.
But
my goodness.
Another thing that really bothers me is there are some scientists that, in my opinion, don't really care what happens as long as they are the ones that, how do I want to say, get the
results they want, or
the fame, I guess I'm trying to say.
Oh, they discovered the Cthulhu dimension, so here's all your money and women. Oh, look, now we're all dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, an interesting topic, to say the least, right, Bev?
Oh, wow, yes. Very interesting.
Well, we appreciate you calling in tonight, Bev, and give Bob's toe a big kiss for us.
That's okay. I don't kiss his butt. I'm not going to kiss his toe.
Okay. Well, you know what they say, medicine, laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah.
Well, we love you, dear.
And thanks for your call. It was very good.
You what, dear?
Your call was very good.
Oh, well, thank you. I try to keep it interesting.
Well, you did a great job. We thank you.
Well, and we thank you for all you do. And we love you.
Oh, we love you too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Catch you next week.
Bye, Bev.
Bye-bye.
K28 just cracks me
He's
up.
on fire tonight, isn't he?
He just is just I mean, people, if you get a chance, you should look at our chat window and
or Twitter,
or
even.
Twitter for that matter. And K28 will put a smile on your face faster than you could say Bucky's.
If for no other reason than he's relentless when he obsesses with something,
You
he,
know,
he won't let it go for months.
You know what he reminds me sometimes? I know this is terrible. Mad TV.
Careful now.
You know Stewart?
Stewart.
You know
The baby man?
Yeah, how he's like, look at me.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's all good and fun. But we love K28 as a part of our universe. And so, this is for K right here. Anyway, so we're heading into the last few minutes of the broadcast here, Surlana. And is there anything that you want to talk to the audience about or say or housekeeping?
Yeah, but I can't talk about it here.
Oh.
I'll think about their suggestions. I asked them in chat. I said, "What do you want to talk about next weekend?" Because I don't have a clue. And they were all heavy topics too. I'm like, I gotta have a break. So I don't know. I don't know what we're going to talk about next time.
Well, I'm sure it'll be interesting no matter what the subject matter is. And, we can definitely go from there and talk about it on that. Mm-hmm. So,
well, we've got, of course, we still have Maker Fair coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still going to be there.
It's not this coming
Not
weekend.
This coming weekend.
The following weekend.
It's the 20...
Yeah, it's
1st and 22nd, sorry.
probably within 2 weeks.
Yes, we got to prep for that. So I think we'll be broadcasting from there both days. Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes. And
Video.
and audio.
Mm-hmm.
We did it last time.
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough about creepypasta, Michelle, to cover a 3-hour show. That's more like a 30-minute to an hour thing. If you know what I'm saying?
But it's interesting. You should definitely check it out.
You just go to YouTube, type in creepypasta. There are some, if you just like, let's say you like audiobooks about horror, aliens, creepy mysteries, go find one of those millions of channels and check one out. Stupidly, I queue up a ton of them.
And she stays up until 4 o'clock in the morning.
And I'll listen. Actually, they'll put me to sleep. Now, they have affected my dreams. I had a dream the other night. I can tell you this real quick. That I was in some place. I don't know where I was. But I discovered that I was looking at this one wall. And I discovered this one particular wall. If I wrote in the dirt grease near the top of the wall, I could write a message to my childhood friend Holly, which I'm still friends with. I could write a message to her and she would get it. And then it turned out it wasn't just that part. It was anything on the wall. And I found a dry erase board, a small one, and I stuck it on this wall. And if I wrote out something in one portion of this dry erase wall, I could send her a message and she could write back if she had a means to. And I knew she could read it. But it wasn't that I could send it to her. I could send her a message at any point in time that I knew her. Like, I found out I could send her a message to her 14-year-old self. Mm-hmm. I thought that was interesting. It's just a crazy dream I had.
Well, here, I'm going to share mine. It's kind of an ethical thing. And so...
this is going to be fun.
So...
Wait till you hear this one.
I have these dreams semi-often. Apocalyptic dreams. I guess it's just because of the subject matter we tend to talk about here on the universe. And basically in this dream is that the world was ending in the sense that I know some of y'all have seen the movie 2012 where the big wave was coming down the freeway and the mother and the father couldn't escape and they said, here, take the baby and just run. Well, the situation was that hold on, let me just do this for Gene. So basically, I'm running with Surlana, and Surlana is running out of energy, running out of steam. But I'm like, I want to survive, I want to live, but I'm conflicted with the fact that I can't leave Surlana behind. But I don't want to die this way, and so just when I'm about to make a decision one way or another, of course I wake up. But that's not the only dream I've had, and it's been kind of bizarre in the sense that, the other dream I had that was apocalyptic was about some kind of huge, I guess it was about the time that we were talking about Nibiru hitting Earth or something like that, and I dreamt where both of us were holding hands and just together and just acknowledging, well, there's no way out of this situation. And
that's so sweet.
And, we just basically sat there and waited for the world to be destroyed. So that was the other one. So, but going back to the other dream I had more recently, it was like making a decision whether do I stay and just
stay
die
with me or
go and live
and run away.
So that was
in a real world scenario, if I was there, you wouldn't have to make that decision because your kneecaps would be broken.
So you're making my decision for me.
Yeah,
in a
oops,
dream.
you broke your kneecaps there.
But the fact is, I felt really bad, after that dream. I felt bad for both dreams, but more so in the dream recently because, I know you hate when I say it, but I'd miss you. And I'd feel really, difficult to live my life because, we're so, I guess the best way to describe it is we're so bonded.
Like
Imzadi?
dark matter.
Yeah. Or Imzadi. And
I don't know. We're just dense with Star Trek references.
So there you go. It was one of those dreams that, I think, I don't know whether, I want to dream like that or I'm dreaming of
I have a recurring dream.
An alien abduction dreams,
I have a recurring dream, and it's been going on a lot this year. It would happen like at least once a month where I'm alone in a mall, and I'm just looking for funnel cake. And that's all I care about. If I could just get some funnel cake, everything will be fine.
Well, I would enjoy dreams like that versus the dreams I have.
Bathroom.
I think I've mentioned to you, as much as I like zombie movies, I've never had a zombie dream.
I had a zombie dream, I don't even watch zombies.
You hate the zombie movies.
And I find them boring. And I had the zombie dream, and you liked it.
Yeah, well, it was entertaining. I didn't have to file my nails.
I told you about it, yeah.
So there you go. I just I'm saying it live on air that I felt just this grief of making a decision like that, and of course you don't really know, like when a situation comes down there, like what happened, but it's just I don't know. I guess I'm preparing myself for the apocalypse in some way.
Don't go to the bathroom in a dream. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
I agree, because 90% of the dreams I have are me looking for a restroom, and no restroom that I find is in an acceptable condition. And what that means is wake up and go to the restroom. That's all that means. But these will go on, like I'll be searching for hours in the dream.
Yeah, usually I have the same dreams. Like whenever I'm dreaming and I see a public restroom or something to that effect, I okay, wake up.
Okay, they're saying do a show about dreams. Okay, that's what we'll do next week then.
Okay.
Let's talk about dreams and their weirdness, what they mean. Do they have meaning? Is it only relevant to you? I wonder if we should be talking to Patrick.
He definitely would be somebody to pick his brain. And the thing is that, all we have to do is say his name 3 times. And
like Beetlejuice?
Yeah, Beetlejuice. But no, in all fairness, we love Patrick, and he's a great guy. And, longtime listeners of the show know Patrick and what a swell individual he is. And can't say enough bad or good things. Well,
can't say enough bad things about him.
Can't say enough good things about him, because there's nothing bad to say about him.
No.
I mean, he's got that sweet haircut. He talks about his gym, working out, and all the people he's met Lou Ferrigno. I mean, just the stories the man has is awesome. And then the fact that he's able to pull these lotto numbers out of just things that, reading the news or things that he's come in common or he talks about. And I think it's maybe time for a Patrick Sporer fix.
Yeah. Miss Michelle, what does funnel cake mean to me? Funnel cake is something I like and I haven't had in years and years. That's what it means.
It's deliciousness.
I just want it. And there's some email you have got to be looking at because we might be in trouble.
Uh-oh. Okay. Uh-oh. Well, Invasion of the Saucer Men was that movie I was trying to think of earlier.
Really? Don't you have that poster?
I have that, yes. That's the one I was talking about earlier. But anyway, Surlana, this is the time we need to wrap it up because it's that last minute and, all these other good stuff that needs to happen behind the scenes. So, hey, y'all, this has been a lively discussion about dark matter, dark energy, CERN, dreams, and the grief that I have with separating myself from Surlana from the big wave of the apocalypse. So, join us next week, and I guess we'll be talking about dreams right here on the SBU Network's Spaceboy Universe, also heard on the PAUK Radio Network. Say goodnight, Surlana.
Nah.
Spaceboy Universe is hosted by Spaceboy and Surlana. Executive producer is Surlana. Social media producer is Dennis Koch. Associate producer is Lee Ann Cordes. Music production is Spaceboy of SpaceboyMusic.com. Special thanks goes out to Lee Ann K, K28, Mark S, and Bob N. This has been a Spaceboy Universe production. Support the universe by exploring Spaceboy Universe with Spaceboy and Surlana. Sweet dreams, Space Cadets.